Welcome back to ThinkTwice MTG. I'm your host, Drew,
And I'm Alan.
and today we're going to wax poetic
Yes.
about some of our favorite decks of all time.
Yes. Episode 10, favorite decks. This really came about just because, like, a conversation we were having last week while playing.
Yes.
And we were just like, oh, yeah, and this deck and that deck. And I was like, you know what, that's what we should do as an episode, is just our favorite decks we've ever played.
Made the list immediately.
Yeah, Drew was like, oh, okay, I'm in.
I got
So
it.
here we are. We are just going to kind of ramble, I guess, is probably a good... Yeah, that's not sticking down there. About the decks that we have played throughout time that we like. There's no restriction on which formats or whatever. It's just decks we've played that have all of those good warm fuzzies in our hearts. And we'll probably talk about why and all that sort of jazz.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to kick it off and start
Oh my God.
with my... well, you put it where I couldn't see.
I know.
So anyway, with my... these aren't necessarily in order. I'm going to save my favorite one for last, but it won't be a surprise to anybody. It's just Don's listening to something.
Oh.
Yeah. And so my deck that I put fifth on my list is Shredder Murktide. So that would be probably, obviously after MH2 and whenever Streets of New Capenna came out. I don't remember the time. So I don't know, 2023 maybe?
You can remember every D&D campaign we've ever played.
Yeah, but I couldn't tell you exactly when they all happened.
All right.
So, so this is It Murktide with Ledger Shredder. Spoiler alert: this is one of only two modern decks on the list. So Ledger Shredder. So like when MH2 dropped, you got Ragavan, Murktide Regent, and DRC, and Unholy Heat. So basically the whole deck. The deck was nowhere close to existing before MH2, and then it came out. And I feel like the deck was always kind of wanting that last threat piece, because your DRC Ragavan were kind of like your early aggression, and then obviously Murktide is the thing that finishes it up later. But you needed something sometimes to bridge the gap in those slower games, and neither Ragavan or DRC block very well. And then Streets of New Capenna came out and Ledger Shredder dropped, and I think at first Ledger Shredder is one of those cards that looks very unassuming, and a lot of us will pass by it when we're looking through cards, like, okay, yeah, that's not going to do anything, because it's the classic standard rare of we put an okay body and we slapped the set mechanic word on it.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, it was connive. And so Ledger Shredder is just simply, it's a 1/3 flyer for 1 and a blue. Whenever a player casts their second spell, it's either player, which was key for this card. Ledger Shredder connive, so you draw a card, discard a card. If it's not on land, you get a +1/+1 counter. Nice, simple, easy creature. But like, one, because it wasn't just whenever you did it, this card triggered a lot more than I think people realized at first. And people started playing it, and also it was just like, oh, my opponent is also incentivized, just by the way Magic plays, to play multiple spells on their turn.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get to continuously make my hand better. And like, I think the thing I miss about this version of Murktide is kind of twofold. And like, the reason why it's one of my favorite decks that I've ever played is Ledger Shredder made it. Your hand was never bad.
Yeah.
Like, your hand was... every time you look down, I don't care if you had 1 to 5 cards in your hand. You just look down, you're like, these are all great.
Mm-hmm.
Because you never had a bad card in hand, because every turn you're triggering it, and so you're getting rid of your worst card, and then half the time your opponent's triggering it, or, your opponent's playing suboptimally because they don't want to trigger it. And, like, I know I sat on the other side of Ledger Shredders. I know people sat on the other side of my Ledger Shredders being like, I kind of want to cast the spell, but I don't want to give you the card draw.
Right.
And make your hand better, and then make it harder for me to beat you.
You're just sculpting
forward.
for the perfect way you need this game.
Yeah, and like, you already played Mishra's Baubles because you had DRC and you wanted it for the Delirium, and a turn 2 Shredder followed up with a Bauble often got it so that only people playing Fatal Push could kill Ledger Shredder quickly, and at that time there wasn't a lot of Fatal Push decks around, because it was Bolt and Heat were like the two things that were just running everywhere. And I especially remember this is the mirror match that I've enjoyed the most. Which is interesting because, like, it's not normally a thing I think about in, like, thinking back on decks and thinking highly of them, is what was the mirror match like.
Right.
But this mirror was so fun to play, and Ledger Shredder to me was the reason. Because if you weren't aware when you were on the draw that you needed to have a hand that could react well to Ledger Shredder, you lost. Because if your opponent went turn 2 Ledger Shredder, trigger it, you were never going to have Unholy Heat online before your opponent with the Ledger Shredder had counter magic available to stop your Unholy Heat, and then you just lost the game. And so if you weren't ready holding up a bolt because you had like committed a threat instead of holding back, or some way to counter it or whatever, like Ledger Shredder just dominated the game. And it was this like sub game that I remember playing so much, and it was like you were making moves and counter moves before anything actually happened on the battlefield about like, okay, do I keep, do I hold up mana, do I not? And it was just like, to me, I just remember it like my nostalgia, my rose-colored glasses looking at that version of the deck was just like everything was just efficient, solid. Nothing felt like it was just way too good of a card. It's not like I was running around with an Underworld Breach that's just like, this card just does stupid things. It's just like, yeah, these cards are good rates, they're powerful, but they're kind of where they're supposed to be with the things around them. And it was the epitome of a deck where if I won, I know I made more right decisions than wrong decisions, and if I lost, I probably made more wrong decisions than right decisions. And like, I don't know if I could ask for anything else in a deck than just to be like, if I play you well, you win. If I play you poorly, you lose.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, I want it, like, I think the number one thing I say over and over again that I look for in Magic and that I enjoy in Magic is knowing that my decisions matter. I want agency in how my games play out. And this deck, like, 100% was reflective of how well you made decisions. And it was fantastic. I loved it.
That's good.
And, like, you can still play, you still see cards that are like, a deck that might have parts of the shell of Murktide, and Is It Murktide right now is not one of the more popular archetypes. It's shifted to a Dimir build because of Psychic Frog, because card is Ledger Shredder on like 4 kinds of steroids.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's the same spot in the curve and it's similar stats and it's a flyer and it gets bigger, but Frog controls all of it way more.
Yeah.
And so Ledger Shredder will never see Modern play again because of that. It lasted for like a whole 14 months.
Yeah.
And then it was like, nope, you've been passed by, sorry.
Your star shone brightly but briefly.
Yeah, but yeah, I look back on Shredder Murktide very fondly.
That's good, buddy.
So, all right, Drew, hit us with one of yours.
Well, most of my decks are from Standard, which I thought was funny.
3 of my 4 remaining decks are also going to be Standard decks, and so
I think the deck that I remember having the most fun with was Red White Humans in Standard.
Oh god, that was like what, Shadows over Innistrad kind of
I think
days,
so.
or maybe when what was the second set in that block? Eldritch Moon. Yeah, like right around that time.
And the reason I can confirm that is because there was a card that if it wasn't sick, you could tap it and flip it into a
what was that?
some kind of horror-based human, and it was because what's the big Eldrazi's name?
Emrakul.
Emrakul
was
like
with everything.
was influencing everybody from the moon. And so the deck was. I think the reason I enjoy this so much is that every single card had some kind of utility that made it fun. It was aggressive, so it ended games quickly. But something townspeople.
Town Gossip Monger?
Maybe.
Is that it? So
yeah,
here,
put that up on
we'll pull. I just searched it and I was searching for a deck list.
Yeah, so this was...
so let's see. This one, so a single white for a 1/1, tap an untapped creature you control, transform it.
Yep.
And then Incited Rabble, and it's a 2/3, it attacks each turn to Fable, and it has 2 generic fire breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was amazing. So, because here's what I remember doing with the deck, is you would play something like this card on turn 1.
Yep.
And usually there's not a ton of 1-drop removal in Standard.
Yeah, or they're like kind of bad, or like you said, even if they have a shock, they only have 4.
Yeah, usually it's something like Fatal Push was in Standard, obviously, but like But usually it's
actually not yet. That came after
Well,
this.
yeah.
But eventually it did. Yeah.
right, because that was in Ether Revolt. So
Yeah.
But usually it's stuff like the 1 in the black, destroy target non-black creature.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So you could rest assured that this was probably getting at least one attack in.
Mm-hmm.
So you would go this, then you would play your second creature, and usually that creature has a utility. So what I normally remember was Knight of the White Orchid.
Yeah, good one.
So white for a 2/2 first striker, ETBs, and then I think it's if your opponent has more lands.
That's what I think, yeah. When it enters, if an opponent controls more lands than you search for a plains, put it onto the battlefield.
Yeah, so if you were on the draw, this caught you up.
Yeah.
And if you were on the play, sometimes you could even delay putting down another land.
Yeah, or I remember being on the other side of the matchup, it was it allowed you to play 1 or 2 less lands in your deck.
Yeah, because you could just fetch one
Because
out.
you're it's okay if I miss a land drop one of these turns because I'll get it back, and this allows me to put one more creature in, and even if it's the worst one drop you could possibly imagine in putting into the deck, it's better than another basic land.
Right.
So yeah.
And so then you would town Gossip Monger.
Yeah.
And then you would use the knight to flip it. Now it's been improved.
Yeah,
and now you have 4 power on.
Turn.
Yeah, so and then you had an anthem effect.
Was that just an actual enchantment?
Yeah,
anthem?
it was one white enchantment for all your creatures get +1/+1 and maybe vigilance.
You keep talking. I'm going to keep looking. We're going to be doing this a lot. I'll be searching for card names.
So and then if that was the case, then you're attacking for 6 on turn 3.
Mm-hmm.
And that was tough to beat, especially because you had a first striker out there, and you have gained utility from getting a land. You're thinning your deck, hitting your land drops, that kind of stuff, and just you could really put out quite a lot of power in a relatively short order, and you were doing things on top of it, and that's what I really enjoyed was that if someone went after your town Gossip Monger or whatever,
yeah,
with a 2 shock or whatever, and you could flip it, you could save it.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a little utility there, or you get a land, there's a little utility there, and it just felt like an aggro deck that also had little avenues of intelligence, little what is that called, where you drive down a street and then it ends and there's a circle at the end.
Cul-de-sac.
Yeah, there's a little cul-de-sac of fun, intelligent gameplays that you could use with it, and I just had so much. I won a lot with that deck, both on the play and on the draw. I remember thinking, if I win initiative and go first, they're done.
Yeah.
And I also felt pretty good about playing a aggressive deck, which I've not played many of.
Yeah.
If I was on the draw, because it had ways of catching up and getting ahead. The land that you could pick up, the anthem effect, make your creatures bigger, that kind of thing. And so I just had so much fun learning the ins and outs of the deck, and of course, as a casual spike, winning a lot of games.
Yeah, always fun. You know what card I remember from this deck, having never played it, but always played on the side of it, and this was the card where I was don't have this card.
Sure.
Because this is the card that threatened my ability to stabilize against you, and it was Griffspoon.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I could not find a list to figure out the name of the anthem, but I don't know if anybody cares about the exact cards. Unplayable card from 10 years ago standard or whatever now.
So it's a white for an aura, yeah.
Yeah, and so you enchant the creature, it gets +1/+1 flying, and the big thing from it is you could run it out early because it has the ability of 3 and a white, return it from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to a creature.
Right.
And you can only activate it as a sorcery, but it didn't matter because you'd be like, oh, okay, you have a few small bodies left, and I've put some blockers in the way, but I'm still a little bit vulnerable in life because now the next phase of climbing back into the game is claw your way back in by gaining some life or whatever, and it's gotta survive this turn, and they'd just be like, oh, Griffspoon on, and you're like, don't hit the 4th land if it's in the yard, or don't have the Griffspoon in hand. You're just clip, fly, and get in your last 4 damage, because you'd have a something that was 2 power base, it's getting +1/+1 from your anthem, and then you give it this, and you're and now I'm not going to be able to survive because now I can only block one of your other 2 creatures effectively, and you just get in for that last point of damage on the ground with just some random terrible card. But
they did play great cards. I mean,
I think like the best card in the deck was probably just like Thalia's Lieutenant.
Oh yeah.
You know, because it was like the only card was like, oh, this is a thing that is like, yeah, this card should be played and constructed. But it was just like, yeah, just they happen to all work.
Yeah.
You know, like didn't you run Thraben Inspector in the deck?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and it's like it's a 1-mana 1/2. This doesn't scream aggro card.
Got a clue token out of it.
But yeah, you were just like, it's a human. It helps me later if I start to run out of gas because it gives me the clue.
I think that 1-drop. It wasn't Gideon at the time, but if you attacked with
the flip one, the
but
Kithian?
you attacked Kithian, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you attacked with other creatures, you flipped him into a planeswalker, and it's like, oh, this shit is done. Oh, it also played didn't it play the 4-drop? Gideon that made made like an emblem right away, or made a token.
That would have been later once Battle for Zendikar came out.
Okay,
because that one was in there. Yeah, Kithian, Hero of Akros.
There he is.
So 1-mana.
What a scamp!
Great. I mean, just like classic aggressive stats, and the ability that matters on his side. I'm going to read second, but he also had just 2 and a white. He gains indestructible.
Yeah.
So like.
In standard, it mattered.
It mattered because you might be like, this is my last threat, and I can just make sure that your removal. You have to have 2 pieces of removal to kill him, because I can just hold up the other 3 mana because I have nothing else to do.
Right.
And so you can do that. But so with him is at the end of combat. So this is after you've attacked in the little used end of combat step, which is one of the fun places that this that Eldritch, a card from Eldritch Moon, one of the two. Taught me about, and is that you can act after damage has been dealt. But this is so at the end of combat, if he and at least 2 other creatures attacked, you exile him, return him to as a Gideon, which came with 3 loyalty +2 up to 1 target creature an opponent controls attacks this Gideon during its controller's next turn if able. So you could like basically force your opponent to not be able to keep up a blocker. You could then have a +1 until your turn. Target creature gains indestructible and untap it, so that you can give it like pseudo vigilance, or just be like, hey, this isn't going to die, and it can swing in, and so like then it takes away good trades for your opponent. Or the classic Gideon thing, he can turn himself into a creature. He becomes a 4/4 with indestructible, and you prevent all damage that would be dealt to him this turn.
Yeah, just a really fun. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that the deck was just chock full of.
I mean, I think most of the time it was your 2/1 turned into a 4/4.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that's a good upgrade. My 1-mana creature now attacks for 4 damage a turn, and he can't be killed very easily. Sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like that sort of thing is what it was all about. Yeah, I remember that deck being annoying.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, you look at each of the individual cards and you're like, that card shouldn't be good enough. And like, you just have a bunch of piddly small weenies. And you're just like, why am I dying to all of this? And it just kept on happening.
Oh, so great.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, so that's my favorite deck of all time, I think.
Yeah? Wow. Who'd ever thought that?
No, I sure so wouldn't.
The next deck I'm going to talk about is actually one we both reminisce about. And
this is
have
way
on
up there
lists.
for me, too.
So, and that is the blue-green flash deck from...
Doesn't matter. Standard.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. So, like, M20 is when some of the cards that came out, but, like, the key card around was Nightpack Ambusher.
God, I love this card. I remember I had an absolute war with Jacob.
Oh, yeah.
And he was making tokens with some other card, or this card.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow I think I found my second Ambusher before he did.
Oh, yeah, and you start making more tokens.
My tokens were more, and they were bigger immediately, and so I was able to then start attacking into his tokens.
Yeah, so this deck, for people who are not aware of it, was built all around everything in the deck.
You could play it instant
speed. And so it had Nightpick Ambusher was the central piece. This was like the big thing you were trying to build to. It's a 4-mana 4/4 with flash. It says other wolves and werewolves you control get +1/+1. At the beginning of your end step, if you didn't cast a spell, you create a 2/2 wolf token. With this in play, it's a 3/3. So the idea for everything of the deck, and it had cards like Brineborn Cutthroat.
Oh, that was so much fun. I forgot about that. Oh yeah.
So this little guy is flash. Whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, you put a counter on it, so he gets bigger. So like you'd put your second land in play, pass. Your opponent maybe would play a creature, and you're like, okay, that thing's fine. I'm not worried about your 2/2 or whatever. Put him into play, untap, play a land, pass, and you had, I mean, bad standard counters was like
cancel
quench,
variant, yeah, negate,
yeah, like that sort of stuff. What was the blue green one?
Oh, Frilled Mystic.
Yes. So this was another big piece of the deck.
Oh my god!
It was just a creature that was also a counter spell, and so you could just everything in the deck was built around sit back, hold up your mana, react, but you had enough of these good threats that you could also play at flash speed. That then it was either you didn't play something I need to counter, or you gave me an opportunity, I land my threat, and then it's just going to build from there because the odds of you being able to kill it are really small. Because guess what? I'm going to untap and keep my mana open, and so I'll just be like, oh, you tried to kill my Nightback Ambusher? Okay, I'm going to counterspell it.
Right.
And by counterspell, I mean cancel.
Right.
Or whatever cancel variant we had. And they're like, okay, I'll try again next turn, because Standard isn't full of stuff like Modern where everybody has like tons of really efficient 1 or 2 mana removal.
And their mana's not good enough to basically be like, oh, I can just, dip into blue for control magic.
Yeah, you were relying on, murder level cards rather than Fatal Push or Lightning Bolt kind of efficiency. And so like just being able to do that, and then Nightpack Ambusher, as we talked about, is just so dominant. It felt like if it lived for a turn, your percentage of winning was above 90, and if it lived for 2, it was like, good luck, how long do you want to sit through this before you're dead?
It was... First of all, being able to play at instant speed, I think is... When everything in your deck is instant speed, people don't realize how unbelievably great it is.
The only stuff that wasn't was stuff out of the sideboard. Because we had that, like, that dinosaur with protection from blue and couldn't be countered.
Oh.
Shifting Ceratops, I believe.
That is it.
Yeah. But, like, everything in the main deck was, was instant speed. And you had cards like this out of the sideboard because, one, in the mirror, this card was stupid.
Yeah, you couldn't.
4 mana, 5/4 can't be countered, pro blue, so you couldn't bounce it. And then it has green, it gains your choice of reach, trample, or haste. So if it's your 5th turn, you can just swing in for 5, and it can't be countered, it can't be bounced, and so you're like, all right, can you deal with it? Reach, it can block great stuff, or trample is just you can't even block it effectively. And then there were other times you'd untap with it, and you'd be like, green, give it trample. Or like green, give it haste if you're like top decking and you have 6 mana, you're like this, that. And so like the only stuff in the deck that was sorcery speed were cards like this that were just like, okay, in certain matchups, this card is just like game over if it hits.
Yeah, I remember thinking like, if I can pass with 4 mana up, I have won the game.
Yeah, because you got to a point where you had Frilled Mystic or Nightpack Ambusher, so if they play something important, you just counter it. And if not, or just a lot of times if they tapped out for something, you're like, I can deal with that next turn to like attack it down.
Yeah.
Then you just play your Nightpack, and once every time it's like I untapped with a threat in play and cards in hand, the deck felt unbeatable. I remember running like that was back when in Standard they were also doing like the Sunday events when you like could like I think they called them like Sunday Showdown or something like that. And so like I was going to F&Ms on Friday and Sunday events on Sunday and just running people down with this deck, and like they just hated it. I remember our store on those Sunday events, what they would do, because they didn't have like individual prize support for those, is they would crack open whatever prize packs were supposed to
and you draft it?
Yeah, Wizards said like, here, these are the prize packs to give out. You can distribute how you want. You can give them just to the top 3 players or whatever. Our store is much more focused on making sure everybody gets a little bit of something. So what they did is they'd open up the prize packs and then you draft an order of finish. So if you finished first, you got the first pick of a card. And I remember like a lot of times I'd look and be like, okay, I want my 4th Shifting Ceratops. You open Shifting Ceratops. I'm going to take that and be like, and I'm out. Like, I'm done. I let everybody else pick all the rest of the cards. I don't need them. But just like, okay, we gotta pick up these things. I think that was the first place where you could get the cards with the little foil planeswalker symbol on them that now come out of the like F&M prize packs or whatever. So that was when they started that. But God, that deck was that feeling of just being like, oh yeah, I hit land whatever based on what was ever in your hand. Sometimes it was 2, sometimes it was 3. A lot of times you're right, it was 4. If you got to 4 lands, you're like, how do I lose this game?
Right.
Because it's standard. There's not nearly enough tools to fight through like just this bad wall of counter magic. Because like Quench is not a good card. It's mana leak -1 mana to that your opponent has to pay. So like, oh, you have 2 extra mana, like okay, but like in standard when it's like curves are designed to go 2 into 3 into 4 into 5, it was like good luck. Like sure, you want to play your 2-drop on turn 4, please,
Right.
please do it. I still might pay to counter because you don't get to play anything else. My Brineborn Cutthroat goes my 1 and I go to my turn. Like let's go, and just that deck was great. There is a Nightpack Ambusher on the wall behind you. But if you moved your head a little bit, even the people on camera, because wrong direction. Yep, you can't tell, but you could see it. Yeah, sure. In that vicinity, yeah, you touched it. It was there. But God, that card was great. I've always liked cards that make tokens.
Sure.
It's just cool to make more pieces.
This wasn't in my deck.
More game pieces, and like oh, my wolf spawns more wolves, and they're all really good. And then you landed that second one, and it was like, hey, both of these are 5/5s. The tokens they make are 4/4s, and I get two extra 4/4s a turn. I think my favorite thing to do with that deck was like you'd get the night pack down, and they'd be like, okay, I'm ready to block it, and we'll trade, and you just go pass, end step trigger, make a token. They're like, oh, I never thought of that.
Right.
And because now they can't attack into you because you're like, I just use my token to block, and then I get to attack with my 4/4. So they don't attack. You go to your turn, and you just go pass.
Draw.
Yeah, draw, land, pass, make another one.
Right.
And it's like, you want to keep playing this game?
Yeah.
Because guess what? Unless you kill this thing, it's going to make stuff that outpaces your board, because I'm just going to counter the rest of your threats.
Yeah, put it back up there. What don't it's not just making a bunch of 3/3s, right? They got bigger too.
Well, they got bigger when you played more night packs.
Okay.
So it makes a 2/2, and then it lords all wolves and werewolves. So when you had the night pack still in play, it would make a 3/3. If you put the second night pack into play, you made 2 of them, but they were both 4/4s because they're getting lorded twice. And I was like, oh, this is like you can remember the moments of your opponents sitting there and realizing that pattern of the game. Like, why isn't he attacking? And it's like, oh, because I can never beat this.
The horror that came over their faces when they get it.
Yeah.
Is it like, oh, you're putting inevitability into a visual spectrum.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's not so much a creature as it is just this enchantment that's putting out tokens time after time. Right. And so you are getting wider and wider and wider on the board.
Yeah.
And it's a deck designed to react to whatever your opponent's doing. Yeah. So
and once you figure out the patterns of just like, oh, I know what my opponent's deck is playing, and so I know what are the key cards that I have to care about.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I don't need to counter that because your 3/3 will eventually be outsized by my Brineborn Cutthroat, then I'll just block it. I can take 2 hits from that and be fine. Because I remember the hardest matchups were the ones where they put your life total really low, so you could play a night pack, but you might be forced to block with it. And then they'd play some sort of trick or whatever, and then they killed your night pack, and you're like, crap, I have to have another one now to start building up that inevitability and that board presence. Because you really only ran Brineborn Cutthroat, Frilled Mystic, Nightpack Ambusher. There was that other green 2-drop that whenever a non-human entered, you could pay any amount of mana and add that many +1/+1 counters to it. It was from Throne of Eldraine. I don't remember the name of it, but it was like an elf riding a fox or something like that was the art. But whatever the card was, you ran some of those, but usually not all of them. But it was like, okay, you might have 16 threats in this deck.
Right.
And the rest was just, I'm going to have 4 quenches, I'm going to have 4 cancel variants, I'm going to have... We might have even played something to draw cards. Oh no, there was a counter spell that was counter something and then untap up to 4 lands.
Yeah.
It was a 4-mana one. So you could counter their threat, untap, and then play your night pack. and so that was the other thing that made getting to 4 mana just feel unbeatable. Is like I can do 2 things now, because I remember there were times you'd counter a spell, untap all your lands, they try to play something else, and you'd frilled mystic it, and you're just like, all right, like I've played 8 mana worth of stuff, I countered 2 of your spells, and I have a 3/2 in play, like let's do this.
Yeah, it was just over.
But great stuff. I think that was one of the few times that you and I were playing the same deck.
And that's one of the big reasons why I liked it.
Yeah.
Was that you and I have never played
like the same stuff.
Stuff at the same time.
Right.
And it was so fun to basically like break shit down.
Yeah, we
like,
could
what
talk,
about this, or how'd your game go? And be like, oh, that's my experience too.
Yeah,
oh,
and like we could learn from each other's experiences.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, you need to do this, then that, or like, oh no, against that deck, like make sure you hold up this. Watch out for that on turn 2, or whatever. But God, it was such a fun deck.
Yeah, I would very much. I think I would relish us playing the same deck again, if and when that ever happens.
Yeah.
But c'est la vie.
Yeah, but God, such a good time, such a fun deck. So, yep. Nightpack Ambusher, love it. You always hold a place in our hearts.
We will indeed.
And I also think you mentioned that like the look of horror that
it was worth more than the victory. To be honest,
I think that's the lullaby Drew plays.
Wildborn Preserver.
Yes. Yes, Wildborn.
Flash Reach as a 2/2. Let's go.
Yeah. It's Flash Reach 2/2. But then whenever another non-human creature enters, which everything in the deck was a non-human, you pay X and you put X +1/+1 counters on it. So there were a lot of times you just be like, okay, I have my Wildborn Preserver in play. I'm gonna put in something else, and I know like my opponent stepped out, so I know I'm doing nothing else with my mana turn. So just any extra mana I have, just pump it into it. And like there are times that like it's like, oh, this thing's an 11/11 swing. Yeah. It's like, oh, whoops.
Right.
Like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And, and it was just like, oh, all right, yeah, here we go. Just this gets massive.
Or you'd make a wolf token.
Yeah, you make a wolf token, dump your mana into it.
Yeah.
Or like, a lot of times you only needed the 4 mana up. So if you had 5, you're just like, this is just one more. Here we go. It's sweet. But yeah, everything in the deck was a non-human, so it was just like, oh, whenever another creature enters, you can make this as big as you want. As much as you have mana, you can make it this. So, good thing. Good stuff.
Yeah, so my quote-unquote second deck was Esper Planeswalkers from Standard. From Standard.
Was this the one you played like at the end of Tarkir?
I believe so.
Okay.
So this was an Esper control deck.
What?
It played Dig Through Time.
Yeah.
That was a big help. And it plays probably my favorite Planeswalker ever, which is like Narset Enlightened One or something like that. She's
so the
2 blue-white Narset from
we'll pull up the Narset.
Dragons of Tarkir.
So Enlightened Master was the creature one from Khans.
Not that one.
So we are looking Transcendent.
Transcendent
is the one we're looking for. So I'll read off this card here. So this is Narset Transcendent, 2 blue-white, 6 loyalty when it enters.
Oh!
This is when they're like, oh, Planeswalkers need to not die to anything ever.
Right.
I think at this point in design, they were like, oh, Planeswalkers can have this much loyalty because like the most common removal spell was Hero's Downfall.
Sure.
It was like a 4 of in like every deck that could play it. And so it was like, okay, yeah, you can just kill the Planeswalker, so how much loyalty they have doesn't matter. But so this thing... +1, look at the top card of your library. If it's a non-creature, non-land card, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. So maybe draw a card.
Well, most of the cards in the deck.
Well, except for half the cards were lands. But anyway. -2, when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell from your hand this turn, it gains Rebound. And so those who don't know, Rebound is you exile the spells it resolves, and then your next upkeep you can cast it again for free.
It's the Ephemerate ability.
Yeah, Ephemerate has it. And then -9, you get an emblem with your opponents can't cast non-creature spells. And I'm going to remind you, she started at 6.
Right.
So, like, it didn't take very long to get to your opponents can only cast creatures portion of the game.
So you would go her +1.
Yep.
Start the thing. And then, if you want to bring up our next all-star here, Ob Nixilis, 3 black.
Yeah,
I want to say remastered, but that's not it.
Reignited? Is
maybe.
that it?
Oh, maybe that's it. Yeah.
Because didn't he like lose his Planeswalker spark?
He did.
Yeah, reignited.
Yeah, and this thing was an absolute beast. This thing was. What's the first ability? Draw a card.
+1, you draw a card, lose a life.
Yeah. So I would be like, my play pattern so often was on turn 4, resolve Narset, draw a card.
Yep.
Next turn, resolve Ob Nixilis, draw 2 cards.
Yeah. You're like, how?
What do you do? What?
Right?
Beat me.
And
try.
Your Narset after that 2 pluses is at 8 loyalty. Your Ob is at 6. You've got 14 extra life sitting there your opponent has to try to hack through. So even if somehow they dealt 7 to Narset on that first turn, you're just like, Ob Nixilis.
Right.
Like,
and the thing of it was, like, I have increased these planeswalkers, and we're each of them were taking creature damage over multiple turns.
Yeah.
And they stick on the battlefield.
Yeah.
So, like, the worst case, like, you're drawing 2 to 3 cards off of this one, and, like, Ob's ability to, like, downtick, just destroy target creature has saved me so many times, because it was like, I'll take out your whatever, not real, but like Murktide Regent-esque kind of creature.
Your good creature.
Your Haymaker or whatever. And like on top of this, I was playing like Dragonlord Ojutai, Dragonlord Silumgar.
And then just a bunch of like, we had like conditional counterspell, because that was the like, if you reveal a dragon.
Yeah, so it was blue, Silumgar something.
Silumgar's Scorn?
Scorn, blue, like counter target, whatever, and then it wasn't a hard counter.
Yeah, it was just like, if you didn't
but if you
reveal
had
a dragon,
or if you revealed a dragon,
pay,
it was just a hard counter.
It was just counterspell, yeah. So you played a ton of this Dragonlord Ojutai card.
I loved it.
Which is just, it's a 5/4 flyer, has hexproof, it's untapped, and when it deals combat damage to a player, you anticipate.
Yeah.
Look at the top 3, pick one, put it in your hand, the rest go on the bottom of your library.
And Anticipate was also featured prominently in this deck. I loved casting Anticipate.
Right. And then I think the final pieces, you just had some number of Wraths.
Yep.
In the deck, just to be like, okay,
there was either there was a 6-drop Wrath, or there was like it was like 4 black, and it was something about dragons, or there was and this is back when they printed Wraths.
There was one that I'll talk about in a different deck here. That was, you got to choose a Crux of Fate. It was either all dragons or all non-dragons, and your creatures were dragons. You just be like, just for all non-dragons,
all non-dragons, all day long.
And like that's the thing, but like it was, your low end was just dig for stuff, find cards, kill stuff, and
couple
then you just
like
had,
removal spells,
Planeswalker, Dragonlord. And it was like, God, this is ugly.
And I played something like one in a black, destroy target, ultimate price.
Oh yeah, destroy a monocolored creature,
or Grasp of Fate.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Pick whatever 2-drop removal spell we had access to.
And the other Planeswalker it played was the 6-drop white-black Sorin.
Oh yeah, that's right. So Silumgar Scorn is normally, it's just a force spike counter unless your opponent pays 1. But if you revealed a dragon or you had a dragon, it just became counterspell.
Yeah, it's really good.
Like, so, and sometimes you don't even need to reveal the dragon, because if you're holding this up on turn 2 and your opponent plays their 2-drop or 3-drop, you just countered it.
Yeah, you're good.
You're like, I don't care, force spike's fine in that case. And then it was later on, it's kind of like what we ended up doing, going back to like Shredder Murktide. It's turn 4 a lot of time with that deck was 2 mana, play my 8/8 Murktide, hold up counterspell. And like that's the exact same thing that you did with these Planeswalkers a lot of times. Like, oh, I put a Planeswalker into play, or I put a Dragonlord Ojutai into play, and you're like, you can see your opponent like chomping at the bit for as soon as you tapped it and doesn't have hexproof anymore, and they're just like, I kill it, and you're like, Silumgar Scorn.
Yeah.
And they're like, and everybody always goes, oh, I paid the 1, and you're like, I have a dragon. That's the thing you're trying to kill.
This makes it unbelievable.
The thing you're trying to kill.
Remember how this unbelievable thing makes this thing even more unbelievable?
It's the same thing I've done to people with Stubborn Denial. They're like, oh, I pay the 1.
4 power.
And I'm like, my Shadow's a 9/9.
Yeah.
I think that triggers Ferocious.
It does.
You know? So you said...
Sorin, 6-drop Sorin.
Solemn Visitor, is that
it?
Might
be it, yeah.
Oh no, that's the 4-mana one. Here, let's search for Sorin. Hold on. We'll find the right Sorin.
This is where all of our prep really comes
Grim
in.
Nemesis.
Yeah.
It was the first one that came up. This guy.
Yeah. Oh.
So, yeah, so 6 mana also comes with 6 loyalty.
Yeah.
That tells you how, like, insane that Narset's loyalty was. Because for 2 mana less, you get a Planeswalker that starts with the same loyalty.
Yeah.
Like, that means by the time the Sorin's coming down, that Narset's already about to ultimate.
Right. And so, there were so many games where I would go 4, 5, 6, and it's those 3 guys.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I drew a card, I killed a creature, and then whatever he does.
Yeah, so he is +1. Reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to its converted mana cost.
Silumgar was like a 6 or 7 drop.
Yeah, you had some even if it's a 4, it's like
Dig through time was like 8.
Yeah, but let's say even if it's just your second copy of Narset.
Right.
This guy is +1, go to 7 loyalty. I draw a card, you lose 4.
Yeah.
Like, all right, that's pretty good.
That's not bad.
His second ability is -X, so you get to choose. He deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker, and you gain X life. So it does both ends of the swing that you want in one. It's, I took out your thing that's threatening me, and I got out of threat range. That was sweet. And then -9, put a number of 1/1 black Vampire Knight creature tokens with lifelink onto the battlefield equal to the highest life total among all players. Hey, guess what this guy we just talked about doing, he also gains you life. And that's the thing. And even if you're only at 11, you're like, oh no, I get 11 1/1 lifelinkers? So sad.
It's really tough.
So I never played anywhere close to this deck, but I played a ton of the Ob Nixilis and this Sorin in later versions of the next deck I'm going to talk about. And so just I also have a lot of good memories of these same planeswalkers. And this was the height of planeswalkers featuring prominently in Magic.
This was, we need to get rid of the archetype because they take over all the games.
After these kinds of planeswalkers, it was, we have to change the way we design them, because if
they're just completely
they land, they're just you can never kill them, because once again, let's go back to Narset, because there came later on some standard planeswalkers that also came with 6 loyalty at 3 mana.
Yeah.
Koth Oko. Also Royal Silence, but Koth Oko. But imagine a standard deck that we played. How many of them that you played would you have the ability to swing for 7 on turn 4?
Yeah.
Very few. Sometimes that red-white humans deck you talked about.
Yeah, maybe.
But not against a deck that the first 3 turns were all about just being no, that doesn't happen, I kill that, and set this up. And so planeswalkers would come in, uptick, and just never die.
You didn't have to defend them.
Yeah, and I remember very specifically with that Ob Nixilis, when I first started playing it, the play pattern was you always come down and use the -3.
Yeah.
But then I started noticing that what happened were multiple times is I'd come in and say my opponent had 2 2/2s.
Mm-hmm.
He'd come in, I'd -3 kill one, the other one killed him. And I'm like, that wasn't great. And then one time you come in, you're like, I don't have any cards, I'm just going to +1.
Right.
And he goes from 5 to 6 loyalty. The 2 2/2s attack him, and he's still around.
Right.
And then you go, oh, my next turn, draw another card. Well, the first card I drew was a something blocker that stops one of these things. And then the next one is a removal spell that kills the other one. And now my Ob Nixilis is around again.
Yeah.
Well, now he's back to gaining loyalty back up.
Now he's up to 3 after the next plus.
Yeah, and you're like, oh. So if I just learn to just come in and just default use the uptick on my planeswalkers unless it is absolutely necessary, you're just like, they just never die.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because they have so much loyalty, because standard decks could not put together that much power that fast in the game, especially when you were playing cards like Ultimate Price, Silumgar, Scorn, whatever other removal we had access to.
Oh, there was a Foul Tongue Invocation, 2 and a black.
Oh,
instant,
yeah.
You had to sack a creature, and I gained life if I had Ferocious out or something.
Or a dragon or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Foul Tongue Invocation.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. 3 and a black instant. That was huge on that one, I remember.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can reveal the dragon. And then if you reveal the dragon or control the dragon, it adds you gain 4 life. But yeah, target player sacks a creature. All right. Okay. I thought of a deck that might be your 5th.
Oh, really?
Add on to this. We'll talk about it when we get to the
All
end.
right, that sounds great.
So it's another standard deck, by the way.
Oh, great!
But anyway, so any other thoughts on your Esper Planeswalkers?
Just that I just had everything I wanted, and this also played Murder's Cut. Is a 1 or 2.
Murder's Cut is a fun card.
Yeah, But like this is one of my favorite decks now because I'll never be able to play anything like it again.
Yeah.
And my experience with Magic has largely been, and I think probably, I mean, for a lot of people, it has also probably been, I will never be able to do this thing again.
Yeah.
And it just had it had permission, it had removal, it had card draw, it had these engines that made you just feel like you were doing things and like you were working toward inevitability. And it felt like the bases were covered.
Yeah.
And this is what has led me, like I would consider myself to be more of like a Jund style, those colors now.
Yeah.
But back in the day, man, Esper was where I lived.
Yeah, it was the end all be all.
Yeah.
Well, so we're going to talk about where I lived.
Oh, yeah.
For the first...
I have
tons
hated playing you. Mostly because of this. This is when it was like Alan's figured some shit out, like, and is really, really, really good at games. And like,
yeah. So I'm just gonna pull this one. I know I can find deck lists for because the deck I'm about to talk about is a World Championship deck.
Yeah.
So the deck is the 2015 World Championships Abzan Control. So I'm on MTG Top 8 right now. They're calling it Abzan Mid Range.
Sure.
The top two were not mid range; they were control. It was just, I think at the time people weren't willing to call control if it didn't have blue. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so this deck is we're just gonna bring up my boy right here.
Is this the 2-drop or the 1-drop?
Oh god, no.
Oh, the 4-drop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Siege Rhino.
Yeah.
Featured prominently in
they come in
the
packs.
Deck, so one for the year and a half or whatever that Siege Rhino was legal in Standard.
Did you get banned?
No, it just so that was when they moved from 3-set blocks to 2-set blocks, and so they rotated the first half of cons a little bit early to meet the new 2-set block rotation. So like the way it was going to be is every time a new 2-set block came out, the oldest one rotated out, and then people were like, no.
Yeah, couldn't believe that.
But anyway, but like it was something like Siege Rhino, in its time in Standard, like top 8'd every single Pro Tour, whether it was Modern or Standard or whatever. But so this was when Siege Rhino was the top of the food chain. Yeah. Like this was the card that was like, you have to know how to deal with this card in Standard, otherwise what are you doing?
Not Ultimate Pride. Hero's Downfall was the...
Yeah, you had to answer it. So Siege Rhino, for those of you who don't know, get educated, gain some culture. 1 white, black, green for a 4/5 with trample, and when it enters, you lightning helix your opponent, so they lose 3, you gain 3. So it was a massive creature. It was tough to block because it has trample, and it put the life swing in your favor. And so it has everything you wanted out of a standard creature. It got immediate value even if it got removed, but it also is just like, it had no downside. The downside is supposed to be that, well, it costs 3 different colors to cast, but you could do that.
They put fetch lands
they put fetch lands and dual lands and all kinds of stuff. But so Siege Rhino was the center of the deck, but the deck was built around just these extremely powerful Abzan cards, and I can pull up Seth Manfield's 2015 World Champion, his exact list. This deck just feel your loins.
Nope.
As I read off the creatures in this list, and everybody was like, oh my god, it's so great. Courser of Crewfix.
Oh yeah.
Den Protector.
Nope.
Nissa Vastwood Seer.
Okay.
Siege Rhino. Tasker the Golden Fang. Right?
I remember Tasker.
Like, it also played Elspeth Sun's Champion.
We're not even talking about the cards that I think of the most.
Yeah. I haven't gotten to the instants and sorceries
list.
list.
No. They're creatures.
Oh. Which ones?
There was a 1-drop, a green 1-drop.
Oh, so that was a different version of the deck a little bit later. That wasn't as slow. That was a Warden of the First Trees. Yep. You're thinking about the one that you kind of like level up, sort of.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was a little bit of a different version of the deck that came after. But This one, Abzan Charm.
This is Siege Rhino plus Abzan Charm was a knockout blow.
The Abzan Charm. Oops, if I could spell correctly, I would pull up the actual card.
CHARM.
Yeah, no, I clicked an E instead of an A for the second vowel in Abzan. So Abzan Charm, the 3 Abzan colors, white, black, green, and you get to choose one of 3 modes. Exile a creature with power 3 or greater. Awesome.
Yep.
Also, exile removal, generally better than destroy removal.
Yep.
It gets around indestructible, it gets around death triggers, all this sort of stuff. Or you can draw 2 cards and lose 2 life at instant speed, which is what I think made the card really over the top. Because most...
You can't... This
card
has to be
advantage.
instant.
Yeah.
This has to be an instant.
Yeah, but like the fact that you didn't get card draw in these colors at instant speed. You'd get like read the bones kind of effects, but those were sorceries.
Pay a life, draw a
so
card.
you had to commit whatever you're doing with your third turn before, and Abzan Charm is like, oh, you didn't play a thing I need to remove? Okay, I'll draw cards and just keep the train going, or I can deal with your threat. Or the mode that wasn't used as much, but that's okay, because usually charms are like, there's 2 tiers of modes, and it's, these are the modes I'm playing it for, and then, oh, there's also this that sometimes you use, and this was the, oh, there's also this, and this is distribute 2 +1/+1 counters among 1 or 2 target creatures. This did play well with Den Protector, because you can make it so things couldn't block Den Protector, because you could turn it into a 5-power creature, and you're like, oh, your Siege Rhinos can't block it anymore if you were in the mirror. And you're just like, no, 5 damage.
It also outsized your Siege Rhinos if they thought they could block, or if you would get to combat, you could see how they block, and then you could exile a creature.
Yeah, you could get rid of something, you could make your creatures bigger so you just won combat. All kinds of stuff. Abzan Charm, phenomenal piece of equipment for the deck. Some of the other things, it ran Hero's Downfall, Thoughtseize, a smattering of other little bits of
These
removal.
cards were made in standard.
Yeah. But so this deck was all about just kind of everything got you some sort of value. Courser of Crufix moved you past your lands and made it so you didn't have to draw your lands in order to play them, but you were consistently playing a land every turn, gain you that little bit of life. Den Protector was just, hey, that thing was good once, let me get it back again and get a cool body out of it. Nissa Vastward Seer is a card that I loved.
Yeah. This was your Planeswalker. Oh, is this the flip one?
Yeah. So Nissa Vastwood Seer was in the origin cycle of Planeswalkers. So 2 and a green for
is
a 2/2.
Is this the bitch that makes that 4/4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2 and a green for a 2/2. When she enters, you go get a forest, put it into your hand, and shuffle. And then whenever a land enters, if it's your 7th or later, you can transform her into the Planeswalker version. So she came back down 3 loyalty, +1, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it on the battlefield, otherwise put it into your hand. So better than draw a card.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just landing straight into play, so you could actually are ramping. And so you got to the point where you're very easily casting 2 4+ drops in this deck, which made long drawn out games insane. Okay, because you're just like, oh, I'm gonna go Siege Rhino into Elspeth.
I know,
because I have 10 mana somehow.
It's crazy.
Or -2, put a 4/4 green elemental creature.
-2.
Yeah, named Ashaya, the Awoken World, on the battlefield. So turns in, here's a 4/4. Or -7. Really, what this says is win the game.
Yeah.
But it says a long way to say it. It says untap up to 6 target lands. They become 6/6 elemental creatures. They're still lands. So you get to that +7, you're just like, okay, we've been going back and forth. These 6 lands are 6/6s. Can you take 36?
No.
Like,
most people cannot.
Yeah, you just can't do it.
For the match.
Yeah, and so it's just like, okay, I got there. Woohoo! So, like, this card was fantastic. The last one that really I think makes the deck is Elspeth Sun's Champion.
This card was... You if you had it, you won. And if you had it in the mirror and you had it first, you won.
Yeah. And it is one of the only 6 drops that I've ever played that isn't a Wrath that says, I am great in any phase of the game. You can be behind, and this card is fantastic because its +1 is create 3 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. You're like, I can block your board. Or -3, oh, you've got a board of big dudes, destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater.
Yeah.
So she also is a Wrath. Or -7, you get an emblem with creatures you control get +2/+2 and have flying. Like, oh, so she comes in, you +1 a few times, you have, I don't know, a small army of 1/1s, and they just become 3/3 flyers. It's the ultimate reads the same thing as that Nissa. It just says, if I do this, I win the game.
Did you play Lingering Souls in this deck?
No, Lingering Souls was not standard legal at this time.
Okay.
So this card was like super powerful, and just everything had utility at different spots, but everything had a way to gain more value than just like there were no creatures you played that were just here's the numbers in the power
vanilla
of this box, and it wasn't just like I'm just trying to beat down with this guy. It's like no, this thing is doing all of these different things, and it was just an onslaught of value.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's the thing that makes me love it so much, besides just it had Siege Rhino, and I love Siege Rhino. It is that like just it's the deck that made me really come to the idea like, okay, this idea of having value and my cards can do different things, and I'm okay with the game going long because I have the ability to try to control and shape the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it comes from this deck. Because this is really kind of when we were starting to get into standard. And so like seeing that, and like I'd watch it get played on, SCG or, GPs.
A lot.
And be like, I love this. And
Mm-hmm.
this was one of those times where, and we've all had them as Magic fans, where there's a really popular deck and most people are sick of seeing it on coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And on coverage, they're trying to do anything to show any other matchup. But when you're the fan of that deck, like I was of this one, you're just like, give me more. Come on. Every round, give me Abzan. Like, just let me see it. And I can literally remember watching, like, why do I enjoy watching this so much? Because it wasn't that, I just watching this one player play it, because it was a whole smattering of different players playing it. And I'm just like, and it finally dawned on me, like, oh, look, like, Den Protector is this card that, yeah, it's a 3/2 that can't be blocked by creatures with less power, but it also gained this back. And so it replaced itself. It's up a card, so even if it dies, you got value out of it. Courser of Crewfix is I got to put an extra land into play, or I got to put a land into play without having to draw it, so it pushed me past what would be a bad draw normally, and so the good cards are in my hand. It gained me that little bit of life. It's a 2/4, so it blocked well. Thoughtseize, and this was like my first foray into being like, oh, Thoughtseize does really great things, because like most players, when I first see Thoughtseize, I'm like, I get to look at your hand, take out a card, and lose 2 life? I'm paying life to do this thing? No. It's like I want the card that gains me life. But like the fact that you're like, oh, I know all the information, it let me navigate the early game better, and it's just like, this is just poetry.
Yeah.
On paper to me.
Can I say something about Thoughtseize?
Yeah.
There's a contingent of people out there who absolutely hate Thoughtseize.
Mm-hmm.
They hate it.
Are they the same people that hate counterspells?
I don't know. But if they are not, they both act and sound really similar.
They're cousins.
Yeah. But modern at least, I don't know so much about standard while it was in standard, but modern at least needs a card like Thoughtseize.
Yeah, I think so.
Like Thoughtseize is the break that keeps combo decks, or can keep combo decks, from just absolute. I mean, otherwise this game is Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon.
And it's just I do my thing, and who can do their thing faster.
Right. And if you have the ability in modern to basically have access to all 5 colors by playing fetch lands. And if you are playing Thoughtseize, you have the ability to change the dynamic of a game by poking a hole that can't necessarily be unpoked. Unfortunately, Thoughtseize bug is a real thing.
Yes.
And you get the information of what your opponent has in their hand, right? So, like, it is a very effective card, but it doesn't win you the game.
Yeah, and that second part you mentioned is, I think, the part that I think most players value second, and I've always felt like I valued first, is I get to know what's in your hand.
Yeah, it matters.
Makes every decision for the next few turns that much easier for me. And single-handedly, I can attribute my ability to predict and read what cards my opponent might have in hand, and do that fairly well based on how they're playing, solely due to playing Thoughtseize, because I got so used to always Thoughtseizing my opponent and always being like, okay, you have this, so you played this way when you had this.
Yeah.
That then all of a sudden I realized I could do it without having thought seized my opponent.
Right.
It's like, oh, you're on this deck and you didn't do this on turn 2. Okay, I know you don't have this, and you probably are holding up this instead. I'm like, oh. And, like, those thoughts just kind of start to, like, pop into your head. And you're like, how do I know that? Oh, you've gotten so used to playing well, knowing your opponent's hand, you can start to predict it, and you play like you know your opponent's hand without knowing it. Part of this little story is also because you and I play so often, but I know we've had times where we're sitting down playing, and you've got like 3 cards in hand, and you're thinking about what to do, and I go, well, you have this, this, and this, and you look at me like, how, like, did I show you my hand? And it's like, no, it's just I've gotten so used to seeing patterns and that sort of thing, and it's all because I started playing Thoughtseize. So I've always loved that, just like, oh man, it makes the game feel like it's on an easier mode when you know what's in your opponent's hand. Sure, you get to take a card of it. That's cool, but like Gitaxian Probe was a real thing.
Oh,
the reason
man.
why it's a banned card because there's been like, hey, what do you got? Okay, cool. I can make all of my decisions now so much easier because I can be like, oh, I have to play around this. I have to play around Bolt and not Path. Got it.
If Git Probe was in Modern, it would be in every deck.
Yeah, if they hadn't banned it, there's no way at this point it wouldn't just be like start every deck with 4 Git Probe.
Right.
Because 2 life is fine to pay. It replaces
replaces
itself,
itself.
and now you know. Oh, is the coast clear from?
Yep.
Hey, opponent with counterspells. Ooh, I'm not going to try to combo because you've got a counterspell in your hand. Okay, do this thing, pass. Yeah. It's amazing that it didn't get to that point before they banned it.
Right.
But yeah. So anyway, love this deck. I think I've mentioned in a past podcast or video that I will go back and watch that GP reduke periodically. I will also go back and periodically rewatch like the top 4 of this 2015 World Championships, because it was 2 of like this exact build of a deck, another Abzan deck, a little bit faster one in Paul Rietzel's hands, and Sam Black playing a mono white deck that had no right being in the top 4 of the World Championships if it wasn't just for Sam Black as just
He's just a genius.
Yeah, like he's just, and unfortunately, like he probably could have won this tournament if he had just played one of the other decks that was like more of a real deck, but he's just like, no, I'm gonna do things my way, and I'm still gonna top 4, and then it ran into an Abzan colored wall.
He has the longest fingers of anyone.
It's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sam. But
yeah, I'm sure he's watching.
Yes, everybody knows Sam Black is a big fan of.
Well, he's got to scout the competition.
So, yeah, exactly. So, all right, I guess that's enough of me talking about Siege Rhino until another one comes off the top of the deck. But,
I still hated the version with that Warden and then the fucking Sylvan Advocate way worse.
Yeah, that one was more aggressive. Didn't have the control top end because we lost things like Elspeth and stuff like that, and Courser of Crewfix. So it was a little bit more of just like, I'm just going to beat you down with 4/5s all day long, because it was turn 2, I'd play Sylvan Advocate, it would become a 4/5 later, and then turn 4 was a Siege Rhino, and then it was turn 6, I'd play a 6th land, and I'd have 3 4/5s because I'd take with my Siege Rhino, my Sylvan Advocate, and my, what's the creature land? Shambling Vent. And it's like, hey, can you deal with 3 4/5s? No, okay. Crazy. One of them has Vigilance, one of them has Trample, one of them has Lifelink. Pick your poison. Here we go. Pick your poison doesn't work against any of those cards either.
No.
Got it. All right, Drew, what's your next one?
Well, my last one is the only modern one on the list, and it's Jund. So, I think the reason I ended up on Jund is twofold. Number one, you basically played it. And so I saw it a lot, and kind of grew to respect it.
Just putting Liliana the Veil up here because
it's a great card.
Yeah.
And number two, and probably the reason I credit it to the most, is that
Reed
Duke played it, and he's my favorite player of all time. And I was lost because they stopped making Draw-Go control.
Mm-hmm.
And I was playing Modern, and I didn't know what to do. And so why I ended up on Jund was it had a quote-unquote 50-50 matchup with everything in the format.
Yeah, and so, like, just for people who aren't really familiar with that idea, the idea of Jund being a 50-50 deck is that, like, it's never going to be wildly favored in a matchup, but it's also not going to be a wild underdog. And so it's just like, you've got a fighting chance against everything, but you've got to fight against everything.
Right. So kind of the classic Jund would be something like Thoughtseize into Tarmogoyf into Liliana the Mill.
What just can they make it any better than that?
Yeah. You could play Lightning Bolts. You could play the top end of the deck was Bloodbraid Elf.
Yep.
And so you would cast and then cascade into something that was valuable.
Right.
Who knows exactly what it was. And like Lily at this point was a planeswalker that they were talking about banning.
Yeah.
Because she was so good in Modern.
Yeah.
Because she would come down and she would basically say, you have to sacrifice a creature.
Yeah, and then your board's empty, and now I'm just going to start attacking your hand.
Right.
So if you can't rebuild right now, she's going to make it so you only ever get one card a turn, and you're going to sit on, well, I'm going to keep my Lightning Bolt, and killed your creature.
Right.
Or, you did land a creature, now I down tick.
Yep.
Hopefully you drew something good, otherwise, you drew a land, sorry.
And it was the deck that really taught me the value of 2-for-1 in your opponent. I don't know that that's really as good now.
You certainly can't rely on it like you could back then.
But back in like classic Jund days, I would do something like Thoughtseize. I'd have information on your hand. I'd deploy a threat that grew.
Yep.
Lily typically would come down and then kill something. And then, it would improve your Tarmogoyf because you're making your opponent discard things. You get to choose what to discard.
The greatest thing about Tarmogoyf is you didn't have to put in anything else to make it better.
Right.
You're just
it's gonna get bigger.
I paid my 2 mana. My creature will just grow as the game goes on because eventually one of us will play a sorcery if we haven't yet. Or, I'm going to fetch. Oh, look, there's a land in the battlefield. Oh, you killed my Liliana. Oh, you made my Tarmogoyf bigger. Thank you. Cool.
And it was, most commonly a 4/5, but sometimes it would get bigger, and sometimes, the bigger it got, the faster the clock, and, it always had a lot of lands.
Yep.
And it played a bunch of different card types. There was a version that played Courser of Krufix. Yep. Just really good quality cards. And I think the thing that I enjoyed most about Jund, which I think I have railed against on how they make cards now, is that when you played Jund, you had to have knowledge of what you were trying to do. You had to have knowledge of what your opponent was trying to do. And what you said earlier, your decisions mattered.
Yeah, I know one thing that came up a lot with like that kind of deck is you had to know, based on whatever your opponent was playing, do I need to use Lightning Bolt on this creature or Fatal Push? Because what do I need to keep for the things later on?
Right.
Because, if they have something that Lightning Bolt can't kill, I need to keep the push. But if they have a creature that I can't trick or revolt for consistently, but it only has 3 toughness, I need to hold on to the bolt. And so even sometimes decisions like that, you'd be staring, if you made it wrong, you'd be staring at the wrong removal spell when the next thing came up, and you're like, I'm going to lose the thing because I used my bolt earlier instead of my push. And it's you had to know what was coming in the deck and what mattered when. One that I think of a lot, that the matchup that you probably played against with Jund was against 5-color humans. And I know it's you'd rather hold on to your Lightning Bolt to kill the Mantis Rider, because even though push can kill Mantis Rider, you didn't want to have to fetch when your opponent wanted you to and lose life, and maybe have to lose 3 life, where instead you're I can just hold the 1 red mana and just bolt it, and I don't have to worry about do I keep the fetch land or any of that sort of stuff.
And against those decks, because Ether Vial was a highly played card. It mattered in Merfolk, it mattered in humans, and maybe 1 or 2 other decks. But if I needed a kill spell, I could bring in Abrupt Decay.
Yeah.
And that was a highly efficient card. And the deck eventually evolved to Wrenn and 6. And it lost some of the key contributors. And so people kept playing versions of Jund that were Thoughtseize into Threat.
Yeah.
And that type of thing. But I don't know. I feel that modern Jund is not a real thing anymore, largely because mid-range decks in the style of Jund do not exist in Modern anymore.
I think the only way that you get anywhere close is a deck that's running Counterspell, because you just have to be able to stop stuff from doing its thing. You can't respond after the fact, which is what Jund was you got to play it, but then I will kill it.
Right. And so now, that's not what Modern is.
Yeah.
and so like a reactionary mid-range deck that's relying on card quality and 2-for-1ing your opponent to gain enough margin over the course of however many games or however many turns and decisions in a game is not something that currently exists.
Yeah, because like as card quality goes up, like you're inevitably going to find things that do bigger effects more immediately.
Yeah.
Where when like Jund was one of the big metagame players, there were a lot more decks of like, I'm gonna put this down and the goal is to untap with it.
Yeah.
Or like there were things like the devoted druid combo, and it was like, yeah, you gotta put this into play and then I'll put this into play and then maybe I get to do a thing. But you're like, I can just go blap, that's dead, and you're like, all right, done. And I think one thing that should kind of always be a little bit of a caveat in people's heads, because I know there will be people out there be like, I still take Jund to FNM and I can still do just fine. And it's like, yeah, you can still take a deck like that and win some matches at the FNM level, but over a long period of time, it's going to be extremely difficult to be a winning strategy when you zoom out and look at, okay, what is my success rate over all of this time? Or you're going to lose the thing that we started out talking about Jund with, where Jund had like a fighter's chance in every matchup.
Right.
Where there are matchups now where it's like you're going to sit down with a deck that's built like Jund, and yes, the card choices will be different now, but you're just going to be like, I got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tarmogoyf is essentially not playable in Modern anymore,
which is sad.
It is sad. Like it's one of those iconic Modern cards. I mean, when we started playing Modern, Tarmogoyf was over $200 a copy.
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember both of us looking at it and be like, man, it'd be really cool to play this deck that Reed Duke plays, but I will never be able to buy Tarmogoyfs. You can buy them for $12 now.
Let me just do a quick search.
Yeah. I had one other thought that I wanted to talk about Jund, and I'm trying to remember what it was. What was it?
This is what the people signed up for.
What was it? Yeah, it was me not remembering and you searching. Gosh, I don't remember what it was. That's unfortunate. Oh, no, I remember what it was. I bet you I can guess one of, if not your favorite thing about Jund. It played a creature land.
I love creature lands.
Yeah. What was it? Raging Ravine? Is
Raging
that what it's
Ravine.
called? Yeah.
So 2 red-green, turn this land into a creature. I believe it was a 3/4.
3/3.
3/3, and then when you go to attack with it, which you would only ever activate it to do that, it became a 4/4 with trample.
It just gets a +1/+1 counter.
+1/+1 counter.
So permanently. So the first time it's a 4/4, the next time it's a 5/5. So it's not always just getting +1; it's getting a permanent plus. And yeah, like I can tell you, having sat across from it a bunch, a lot of times you're just like,
you get beat to death in 2 turns.
Yeah, I get beat to death because it's like, well, I can't stop the Raging Ravine.
Right.
Crap. Or like if you're gonna try to block with it, it's like, okay, he doesn't activate the Raging Ravine at the end of my turn, kills the thing I was gonna block with it, goes to your turn, then activates the Raging Ravine and gets in. It's like, well, crap.
I think it's a shame that we don't have a playable creature land in Modern.
Creature lands were very cool cards that were a way to be like, this is the utility land slot has really changed, and I think for the most part is largely gone except for channel lands, and those are usually like 1 or 2 ofs, like, oh, my Boseiju or my Odawara, and that's about the only utility land spot now, because you're like, well, I've got so many fetches, I've got some basics, I've got shocks, and I've got surveils. So what other space is in my mana base?
Mm-hmm.
Because also we've gone from, like, there were times I remember you playing Jund and you had 25 lands in your deck. And this is a Modern deck, and now if I look at a Modern deck and it has more than 20 lands in it, and I go, oh, it's 32 because it's Titan.
Right.
But like otherwise it's like you're 20 or below for the most part, because games don't last that long, and you can't afford to have a bad draw at certain points that are just blank because, like, well, it's another land, and it's why cards like Psychic Frog are so good because it turns your excess lands into something that matters versus just, well, pass.
Right.
You know, and like that sort of thing. But I know you loved activating yourself a Raging Ravine. I think at different points you maybe even tried playing like a Hissing Quagmire, or one that I played. I played black-green instead of adding the red to it. I played black-green, just the Rocket sometimes, and Treetop Village was one that I played.
Yeah. Treetop Village is a quality card.
Yeah. All good stuff.
All right, man.
All right. So I've got two more. The last one will not take long to talk about because I've kind of already talked about it at different points in our podcast history, and it will not surprise anybody. But the next one I'm going to talk about is the last standard deck I want to talk about, and that is Black-Green Seasons Past.
Oh, dude. I want to, before you start, the thing that I want to say about this deck is this deck obviously is in Golgari colors.
Yep.
And it does not play this way at all. This, so the first time that I saw this deck was when John Finkel played it.
Yeah, it was like Pro Tour, maybe Shadows over Innistrad, I think. But yeah, it was.
Now, I will say, John Finkel is widely considered to be the best Magic player who's ever lived.
Yeah.
But watching him play this deck was literally like, what?
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah.
It does what? He's alive?
Yeah.
You know, like, it was...
Yeah. He still plays this game?
It was crazy to watch this deck be played at this Pro Tour.
So...
6-drop sorceries, that's where we live.
Yeah, so I remember this deck, like, it was not on the map when the Pro Tour started. And this was whatever team, John Finkel, Reed Duke, LSV, like, we're all...
Peach Garden, those guys.
Yeah, we're all on it. And it was like halfway through the tournament, all of a sudden they were like, okay, folks, we're going to start showing you this deck. Because, like, 6 people playing it are just steamrolling people.
Just cleaving through these other pros.
Yeah. And so, like, so they started showing it, and I don't know if I've ever been as glued to a TV. And so, like, so the idea of this deck is that you just played good interactive black cards. What was we already mentioned it. Black, instant, target creatures, neg4,
Grasp of Fate.
Grasp of Darkness.
Whatever.
Yeah. So whatever, you played kill spells, you played a little bit of interaction. One of my favorite cards that this deck played was Kalidas.
Oh, Kalidas of Gat!
Yeah. So it would do that, and then you would play this card called Seasons Past. And what this card says is it's a 6-mana sorcery, 4 green. It says return any number of cards with a different converted mana cost from your graveyard to your hand. Put Seasons Past on the bottom of its owner's library. So it's also there to find later on. And so you would restock your hand. It's like, okay, I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to grab a 0 because there's a land in my graveyard for different reasons. So I'm going to grab a land, a 1-drop, probably a removal spell, a 2-drop, probably a removal spell. A 3-drop, probably card draw. 4-drop, maybe a creature. A 5-drop was, if you could pull it off, it was the card you also used to cast Seasons Past. I'll get to in a second. It was a key part of the deck.
I forgot.
Yeah.
This is great.
So, and so you could do that, and then, and then you restocked your whole hand, and then just kept on going.
Didn't this play like Nissa's Renewal?
It might have.
Where you got a bunch of lands out of your deck plus like 7 life.
Search your library for up to 3 basic land cards, put them on your bed, flip tapped, and then shuffle. You gain 7 life. It might have.
Because and I think it played like this is a 1 or a 2 of, and you would like use this to extend your life total for like 2 turns.
Yeah, but it's like the idea was like you'd spend every turn just interacting, slowing your opponent down, and then you're like, hey, we're both out of cards, and then you go, I cast Seasons Past, restock my whole hand.
Yeah.
And then you just start doing it again. Okay, I'm going to do this to interact. I'm going to do this. I'm going to play this threat. Oh, you killed it. I don't care. You're going to do this. Because you had a card in your deck called Dark Petition.
Yeah.
So Dark Petition is 3 black for a sorcery. So search your library for a card and put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. It's a terrible price to pay for it.
Sure.
But it had a little ability called Spell Mastery. So if there are 2 or more instants or sorceries in your graveyard, not a
problem. Yeah.
That is easy to do. You added 3 black mana to your mana pool when it resolved.
So it costs 2 effectively.
Yeah. So what you do is you Dark Petition with a few extra lands because you're just waiting, and so this might be your turn 7, your turn 8, whatever. So you go 5 mana Dark Petition. You'd search up your Seasons Pass, add 3 black, tap 3 more mana, play Dark Petition, or not play Dark Petition, play Seasons Pass with all the mana, restock your hand. One of the cards you got back was Dark Petition.
Yeah.
That was your
to
5
go get
drop.
the Seasons Pass you put on the bottom.
Yeah, so then you'd use your 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 drop cards on for your next couple of turns, and then you just Dark Petition again. And you're like, all right, here we go. The other thing Dark Petition allowed you to do was run you could be like, oh, I'm not in a great spot, and I've got this Dark Petition card, but I don't have the other card. I don't have the thing I need instead of Dark Petition. Just Dark Petition. Oh, I'm gonna go find my Hero's Downfall, or whatever card you're looking for, and then add the 3 black mana and use that to cast that card.
You have 8 mana on turn 5.
Yeah, or your turn 6, you'd go Dark Petition, search up your Languish,
yeah.
spend more and more mana.
Put that card on there. The art's great.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and then what you do is you'd be like, okay, turn 6, Dark Petition, float 3 black, tap 1 more, all creatures get -4/-4.
That is so great looking.
Yeah, wipe the board, and so you just do this, and the really only the only real way to win was Kalitas, Trader of Get. And this is a fantastic card, one of my favorite cards of all time. 2 black for a 3/4 Vampire Warrior. He has lifelink. Says if a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, instead exile that card and put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. So you kill your opponent's creature, it can never come back. I get a 2/2, and it can 2 and a black sacrifice a vampire or a zombie, put 2 +1/+1/+1 counters on Kalitas. So then he can also grow.
Mm-hmm.
So you could do. There were a lot of times you'd be like, okay, your opponent would attack in, you'd chump block with your zombie. Before it dies, you'd eat it. Your Kalitas becomes a 5/6 lifelinker, and it's like, how are you going to come back from it? Because the next turn, then it swings in, and then you cast a Seasons Pass, and you get back 18 cards, and you just keep going. And I hear these days people will talk on, whether it's on podcasts or whatever, people will be like, oh, well, this card is in my sideboard in my Modern deck for the grindy matchups. And the joke is that there aren't really grindy matchups in Modern. So you don't need cards for the grindy matchups in your sideboard. This deck, if you look up grindy matchup in a dictionary, it's this deck.
Yeah.
Nothing has ever done the grindy game like this deck. It was just saying I don't care how long the game goes, because I will, never run out of cards, because I could just every turn cast Seasons Past, because it puts it back on the bottom of my library.
Right.
So you can't play the I'll just wait them out and mill them out game, because I got rid of all their Kalitases, and now they can't really win the game because they don't run in much else. This deck did run at least a couple of that Ob Nixilis Planeswalker, though, so you could also win through that. But so you couldn't even do that, because it's all right, I'll just mill you out, because every turn I'll just go 6 mana, put this card back in my library. And so you're like, okay, I'm paid off there. I can freely fire off my interaction, even if it's not necessarily the thing that is most important to kill. It's just a thing to kill, because I'll just get that card back.
Yeah.
I don't care. And Kalitas would climb your life total right back up out, or we talked about that Nissa's Renewal card. And this is a deck that you had to know how to play well, otherwise you were going to time.
Right.
Just all the time. If you put this deck in the hands of somebody who was unfamiliar with what you were supposed to do with it, they would never finish a match.
So I think it's completely legitimate to be I'm going to take what should be 3 games, and I'm going to take it down to 2 or 1 games.
Mm-hmm. You win the first game,
right.
Try to start the second, and just be I know,
yeah.
I'm just never going to finish this game.
And this deck could do that. This deck could take 30, 40 minutes.
Win game 1,
and you were done. You were good. You had won the match.
Yeah, and I played this deck at FNM, and there were people who made the mistake of sitting in game 1 for way too long.
And just watching you play.
And they're just I do this. I'm okay, yeah, that's fine. Oh, you passed to me, I kill that. I go to my turn, I play this, I pass. Or, I Dark Petition and get this thing and kill this other thing. And then eventually I Seasons Pass and restock my hand, which is the point you should have conceded. Because how can you, I just took everything that I used to get to this point of the game, and I put it back in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't do that on the other side. You're just yeah, okay. And I'm all right, that's fine. Let's keep playing. I love doing this.
Yeah.
Let me cast Seasons Pass 7 times this game. Please. I will have a field day. And it's because people are only used to conceding when they see the win on the board in front of them. Like, oh, that is a big creature that I can't kill. It will kill me next turn. Okay, I'm done. And this deck would be like, I'd cast Season Pass, and they had never seen a creature out of me. They'd only seen Duress, Grasp of Darkness, Read the Bones, Dark Petition, Languish, and they're just like, you can't win. And I'm just like, oh, it's in there somewhere. There's 2 Kulitis. I'll find one. I don't care. Because even if you kill one,
25 minutes from now.
Yeah, I'll Seasons Past it back and do it again, and I'll just make a massive amount of zombies and be fine. And like, there were a lot of times you'd have your Kalitas in play, and like your opponent would have like 3 or 4 creatures because like they went like creature, and it's like, yep, let that happen, because they couldn't attack into your 3/4, and then you just go Languish, and they're like, yeah, he's killing his own Kalitas, and I go, okay, you had 3 creatures die, make 3 2/2s. And they're like, oh shit, like and I'm like, yep, swing for 6.
Yeah, now I've got 6 power.
Game's over.
Yeah.
This deck was absolutely fantastic. I loved playing it. It was a masterpiece of looking at a standard format, in my opinion, and finding like, wait, this little piece here and this little piece here. And I think this is maybe the reason why standard decks dominate these lists we made. And it's because you couldn't do this kind of deck in every standard format. Right. It was only when the pieces came together to create the perfect storm that you can play this deck right now. And so it's like, it makes you want to do a unique thing at a time, and it's not like, well, I could just play it in 2 years with this different cards, but it's the same deck. It's like, I can only do this right now, so I'm going to do it right now. And like, I think that's why we have, out of what we're going to talk about 9 decks today, and we're going to talk about 6 standard decks.
Yeah.
Like, that's 2/3, and we only play modern now.
Right.
We haven't played standard for like 5 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, because it was like right
5
before,
or 6.
It was like right before COVID hit is when we stopped. And so I think that's a big reason why, is because, one, you get to play cards like 4-drops that just gain value. And also it was like, oh, that was the thing I haven't been able to do before, where like you can look at a modern deck and it's like, I may not play the same cards, but maybe I'm playing some of the same cards. So you don't have nostalgia for Lightning Bolt, because we still just play Lightning Bolt. But a strategy can survive. Like, you first started playing Storm 7 years ago or something like that, right?
It's been a minute.
But you can still play Storm.
Right.
Are 75% of the cards different? Yeah. But it's still the same idea of a deck, so you don't have the nostalgia for it, because it's literally what you did 4 days ago.
Right.
So I think that's one reason why we look back on standard that way, is because like, I'll never be able to do anything like Seasons Past again. That was a singular time period in Magic where that was possible, and it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So that'd be really cool. One thing I do remember that was fun is, I think it was like the Versus Live and stuff like that. They would sometimes do like, we're just doing Blast from the Past because it's kind of like a lull in between sets or whatever, and they would do stuff like, we're gonna bring back an old standard deck and just play it because we liked it. And it's like, yeah, like I do that sometimes. Just be like, I just want to play a Seasons Past deck and just see what happens, Okay, I've got one more deck to talk about. It will not be a surprise. I've already talked. If you go back, you take like a 2-minute clip here and a 1-minute clip here from different stuff we've done and put together this section. So it won't take super long. But, unsurprisingly to anybody who knows me, the deck I'm going to talk about is specifically 2019 era Death Shadow. This is when the deck was 4 Death Shadow, 4 Gurmag Angler, 4 Thoughtseize, 4 Stubborn Denial, and a bunch of air.
Yeah.
Because you ran Thought Scour, Street Wraith, Mishra's Bauble, 17 lands, often 11 of them were fetch lands. Sometimes 12, because people got a little bit crazy. You'd have some Fatal Push, some Lightning Bolts, some Temur Battle Rages that in 90% of scenarios were blank cards. And it was all just about stick one of these big dudes early and then just use Stubborn Denial to protect it to victory. And
almost a Delver-esque kind of.
Yes, it's just the giantest Delver you've ever seen. I have one specific memory when I was playing this at one of our FNMs, and it was when our store still ran like standard every week and then another format. So there were standard players in the store, and so like often their round would finish at a different time than ours. And I remember I was starting a game, and probably middle school aged kid walks by and he's just standing there watching. He's like, hey, I'm like, hey. And I go something like Street Wraith, Bauble, check myself, fetch, shock, thought seize, turn 1. My opponent goes like, play a land. And I go, okay, my turn 2. Fetch, shock, shadow. My opponent does something not on the same par of the number of actions we're taking. And then I go to my turn, and I don't remember the exact sequence, but it was something like another fetch, shock, and then Teamer Battle Rage and win. And I remember the kid was standing there, and like he stood there for all 5 minutes for this whole game, and he went like, what happened?
Yeah.
And like it was like you could see this kid was having this moment of he thought he knew what Magic was.
Yeah.
And then he watched that happen, and he was like, I don't know.
Right.
And like I think one of the things I liked about that deck is how you took so many actions that were doing nothing.
Oh yeah. Fetch, shock, this Bauble.
Street Wraith is just put this card here, grab another card, lose 2 life.
Yeah.
Bauble is just I put this one down, I put it here, another one comes to replace it. Thought Scour is 2 random cards go into my graveyard, and I get to replace it. But you just feel like you're doing so much. And then the other card that just is never going to not make me smile is Stubborn Denial. So 1 mana, counter a non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1. Really bad force spike because it can't even hit creatures. But if you have Ferocious, which is a creature of power 4 or greater under your control, you just counter it. It just becomes Negate. And Negate at 1 mana is really strong.
Yeah.
Especially in a format where there weren't that many spells that could kill, say, a 9/9 Death Shadow. And there weren't a lot of decks that were putting so many creatures on the battlefield that you couldn't survive at 4 life.
Right.
Because like they weren't going super wide. And so there were so many times you'd like, here's my Shadow in play. And your opponents just can't swing because it's the biggest thing on the battlefield. But then they just were in this terrible conundrum because you ran Teamer Battle Rage. Mm-hmm. And you could just swing for 20 with Trample out of nowhere. And so every time you were playing this deck, you'd swing in with Shadow, and if I had a card in hand and they could see red mana, people were like, I don't know how to block. And inevitably they blocked wrong because there was no good way to block. Because even if I don't have it and you take a hit, you're going to take a hit for like 9. That means you can't take the next hit, so now you can't attack back because I'll kill you on the crackback, and I've got mana open, so maybe I have a bolt or a push or something to interact with this. Or they blocked thinking, okay, if he has Teamer Battle Rage, how can I survive with a block? And I'm like, please do it. Because your whole board will die. And I'll likely still have my Death Shadow.
Right.
Because it's going to hit, and it's going to deal 9 damage with first strike, and then 9 more damage. And can you deal 9 back after? Like, if you have that much toughness, you should just win the game. You know? And so it was just, like, always this conundrum that I could see. I was just like, well, here you go.
Yeah.
Make a decision, opponent, please. The answer is you have no right decisions unless you have, like, Fatal Push. And then you just have to hope that I don't have Stubborn Denial.
Right. Which you always did.
Because there were only 12 cards that mattered in the deck. Everything else was just air. But I loved it. It was so fantastic. It was, like, the first, like, fully actualized modern deck that I ever built. Mm-hmm. And I remember, like, it was, like, a long process of piecing together cards, and and every time we'd go to the store, I'd look at the case and be like, oh, they have one more piece.
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna pick up the second Thought Seize, and it's just gonna sit here, and I'm not gonna play it because I don't have them all yet. And then okay, I can pick up this thing. And I remember for the longest time I had mismatched shadows. I had two from World Wake, 2 from like Double Masters or some other reprint of it, and it was like, but this is what I can put together. Is I've got these mismatched cards, and I remember the first version of it, I didn't even have Scalding Tarns because I was when Scalding Tarn was still like $90.
Ugh. And
I was just like, I'm just going to run 2 other fetch lands in a color. I think they were Flooded Strands. Because what's the other Khans fetch that I could run?
Right. And
it's like, it's imperfect, but it can go get most of the stuff I need. You can't go get the Blood Crypt, but that's fine. You're a blue-black based deck no matter what. These are the days that a card like Gurmag Angler was good. Ran Kolagon's Command.
Ugh.
Just fantastic, wonderful stuff. And I wish I could just still play that deck sometimes. And I can't, but God, it would be nice.
It would be awesome.
So that's my favorite deck of all time, and it's not close. So
I hate that deck.
I know you played against it so much.
I played against it so much, and the thing about it. So the thing that I immediately hated about it when it got debuted by Josh Utter Layton at whatever Pro Tour Vancouver.
Yeah, it started out like there was
Jund,
like a hyper aggro and Swift Spear, and before Gitaxian Probe was banned, it was like Gitaxian Probe and Mutagenic Growth, and you just go all in, and then Temur Battle Rage swing, and then Gitaxian Probe got banned. People like, oh, and then I think it was Josh Utter Layton maybe was like, oh, you can just play a really solid value-y Delver style plan with this. You don't just have to be all in aggro.
But I hated that Death Shadow got bigger as your life total got smaller. Yeah, I just hated it.
Yeah, I remember countless times you saying to me this is so antithetical to what the game is.
You want to know the biggest problem I have with this deck?
What?
No. It's not this. It's not this.
Yeah.
It's I always do this. I always get these fixed up. It's when you bolt Tarmogoyf and it lives through the bolt.
Oh yeah.
Because of the timing on the spell resolution.
Math.
I hate it.
Yeah, so if you attack in and I block, let's say my Shadow's a 3/3 and you attack me with 2 3/3s, I can block and kill your 3/3 and my Shadow doesn't die.
Right.
Yeah. Shadow math. That gets a lot of people, and then I've had many FNM moments where I'm sitting down explaining what happens. Well, all damage is done simultaneously, so my life total changes, and this card doesn't have to wait to see. It's not a triggered ability to change its stuff. It just happens.
Yeah. So let's just real quick explain that. So you have a 3/3 Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
I attack you with a 3/3 token and something else that does damage.
Let's just say 2 3/3s.
2 3/3s.
Just to make it all easy.
So I'm like, okay, so I'm going, if you block, we're going to trade. So here I go. Yep. I attack with my 2 3/3s.
I block 1
You block, we go to damage. Why doesn't your Shadow die?
So everything deals damage all at the same time. So our 2 3/3s will deal 3 damage to each other. Your 3/3 that was unblocked deals 3 damage to me. My life total drops by 3.
Yes.
The game then checks state-based actions after all damage has finished being dealt to whatever it's going to be dealt as. So then the game sees my life total is 3 less. So I was at 10. I'm now at 7. So it sees a 3/3 with an unblocked has no damage on it. That one lives. Sees your other 3/3 has 3 damage marked on it. It dies. That's lethal. Makes sense. It then sees a Shadow that is a 6/6 with 3 damage on it, so it doesn't die. Because all of the damage has to be finished being dealt before the game can look and see at what's happening. And at that point, Shadow's ability isn't a trigger. It just is a static effect. So by the time the game looks to see if Shadow has lethal damage, it has become bigger. So it only deals the damage to what your life total was before damage, but after damage, its toughness lets it live through damage.
And I could never understand how it could get bigger before everything else, and then it was also like, this is all simultaneous, so it's fucking dead, right? No, here's why. No, how'd you get in first in line? And that was my walking ballista thing for you. You could never really focus in on how walking ballista was going. I attack before and then I do 4 to you. It's like it has double strike. Right?
Yeah, and it's like you could never
do that. And I could never remember that fucking Shadow Math was a real thing.
Yeah, Shadow Math. Shadow Math gets people, and it's great. And this is another deck that I felt like if you could pilot it well, you were really rewarded. And there was no matchup that made that more apparent than the Burn matchup. Because everybody saw Death Shadow, and they're like, Death Shadow, that deck is lowering its life total, so Burn is great against it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of Death Shadow players were like, yeah, I always lose to Burn. And then you'd listen to the Josh Utter Laytons, aka Raptor of the world, who played the deck a bunch, and they were like, no, Burn's not a bad matchup.
Right.
Because you just didn't play any of your stuff that made you lose life.
Right.
And you just sat back and waited.
They were working for you.
Yeah, and so instead, I just never did anything with my street rates. The third level was actually Thoughtseizes is good against Burn as Death Shadow because it saves you 1 damage.
Yeah.
Or it takes a creature. And so you just sit back and be like, okay, yep, you're gonna bolt me or whatever affect me, and you're like, okay, I'm down to 17. I'm gonna fetch, bring in something tapped. I'm at 16. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do that. And then they expend a bunch of their hand, and then you go, okay, I'm now at 9 life. Shadow. And you had Stubborn Denial back up.
And it was a 4.
Yeah,
and all their shit does 3.
So nothing could kill it anymore. And then you're like, swing. And burn players, being burn players, are like, I still have to bolt you because I can't kill your shadow, so I have to try to get you dead.
And now it's...
And then, okay, now it's a 7/7. Well, really quickly, and then I'd go to my turn, like, I've got a Stubborn Denial-Handed and a Temur Battle Rage, so I go fetch, shock, Temur Battle Rage, and they try to kill your response, Stubborn Denial, and game's over.
Yeah.
And it's like that's how you did it, is just you didn't lower your own life total anymore. And then you got to the point where you found the really good burn players, and they know also for them, they would only play a card if they had to discard it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when those matchups were like, this is the match, because neither player's going to do anything until they're forced to.
Right.
And so you'd still just sit back as the shadow player, land, go. And the burn player's like, land, go. Until they're like, well, I didn't draw a land into my hands full, so I'll, whatever the sorcery speed version of both the player is. I don't forget the names of them at this point.
It doesn't matter.
But, and they'd play one spell, and you're like, okay, I can't do anything yet. Your turn. And then do that. And then it was just this waiting, because then they would get to the point where you'd get low enough that they could go in one turn, like, bolt, bolt, bolt. And you're like, okay, yeah, that's how you have to try to beat me. You have to sandbag as well. And then it became like the longest match ever of decks that people thought would just go super fast. But, yeah, anyway, I digress.
One of the things that we're going to have a conversation about here in an upcoming cast is the evolution of Magic players.
Okay, yeah.
From when you start to when you, as you continue to grow. And I think what you just described is like how once you have 2 levels of players that look at a matchup and understand that, like, we have to now play our decks in a complete antithesis of the way that they're designed to be played in this one relationship, me against you.
Yeah.
And my deck versus your deck. And now we understand how that's supposed to be played. That is A+, top level, wonderful gameplay.
Like, I remember the first time that a burn player played the right way against me, and like, I consumed so much shadow content. Anybody who put stuff out there, like, I had heard people who were great at the deck, and so like I learned from them and became, I thought, a very good Death Shadow pilot. And so you go to FNM and somebody's playing burn, and at that point I only played one deck, and so they knew what I was on. And I would just be like, oh, I listened to so and so on their thing, and I've practiced this. I know how to beat them. And you just walk around there like, this is supposed to be a great matchup. I must have drawn so poorly. And it'd be like, well, no, look, you drew 8 burn spells. It's like
24 damage.
But but look, that one got thought seized. These 2 got countered, and this one you tried to kill a creature hoping that I didn't have something, and that was the only time I cycled a Street Wraith in the match because it kept my shadow alive. And like that's something. So like I was able to blank 4 of your 8 spells. And it's like, no, you drew exactly the number you needed in order to win most matches. In fact, you drew 1 extra. And it's like, so you didn't draw poorly to lose. You didn't play correctly. And I never really had this conversation with people because people don't want to hear that.
No, they don't.
But like
you had what you needed.
But like I'm sitting there and it's like, and like you just kind of nod and lightly smile, and they're like, oh, this is such a good matchup for me. I can't believe it. I drew so badly. And you're just looking at it like, you didn't. You just played badly.
Yeah. Like, the thing about Magic the Gathering that, like, I will die on this hill. The thing that makes it such a fun and interesting game, I think, at a foundational level, is interaction.
Yeah. My
decisions versus your decisions.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just, let's just let a generator just play it out for us, and we just get to see what happens.
And the thing that people complain about the most when it comes to Magic the Gathering is how they were interacted with.
Yeah. It's because people want to play a video game where they're the only player and everything else is a computer.
All the guys fall down and you won.
So that they get to feel important and cool and special, and that they got to do their thing because they're showing up to play Magic to get for only them.
Right.
And I'm not saying you need to play in a way that is beneficial to your opponent, but you need to sit down at the table understanding that you're playing a zero-sum game and we're both trying to get something out of it. So you have to be able to enjoy, even when things don't go your way, to really lastingly enjoy this game.
Yeah.
Because it has to be like, man, even though I lost, that was a really cool matchup.
And like, I am not the world's most mature Magic player. I'm not. But I have, from time to time, and I do believe it's happening more frequently now, I have taken enjoyment out of losses or not cared that I lost and still had a good time.
I played a few weeks ago against a guy at our F&M, and he was playing Is It Wizards, which is a deck archetype that I love myself.
You sure do.
And I lost the match, and it was a long, drawn-out 3-game match. But I was like, that was fantastic. That was really fun. We got to make a lot of cool decisions. There was a lot of back and forth, and I walked away being like, that was an awesome match. I didn't even care that I lost because we had fun, interactive Magic, where a matchup where my opponent is playing a non-interactive deck, and I'm just being like, well, I hope I just have enough counter magic to stop them before they pull off their big ol' thing, is less fun, even though I win, than a really hefty back and forth kind of like, you do your thing, I do my thing, we kind of trade punches sort of matchup.
Right.
And it's the same kind of feeling I got the first time that I played against a burn player who knew how to play the shadow matchup. And it was a time when like somebody who doesn't normally show up to our F&M showed up. And so like you're like, I don't know who this dude is, and it's probably somebody who's like, oh, I'm home from college and I go to college somewhere else, and so I was just here, I'll play a couple times. And I sat down, and like we had seen what decks each other were playing throughout the night, and I went, land go, and he goes, land go, and I went, oh.
Yeah.
Because it's like, there's no way you kept 7 without a 1-drop.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, he knows I'm on Shadow, and he knows how to play it. And it was like, okay, focus up, everybody. Like, to face yourself in the seat.
Chin straps, thinking caps on.
Like here we go. Make sure you're comfy, because this one's going the right way. And so, like, it was like, okay, this guy knows how to play it. This will be fun. And that sort of thing. Do you want to touch on that mechanic topic we want to talk about?
Yeah, we can touch on it quickly.
Yeah.
Because we've been going for almost 2 hours.
We even addressed a card that has this topic in our last episode. So.
Oh yeah, Pinnacle
Emissary. I'm pulling it up right now because it has the mechanic we want to talk about.
First of all, that thing is absolutely what I wanted it to be, and I think it's only ever going to get better.
Yeah. So the mechanic we're going to talk about today, everybody, is the warp mechanic. So this is new from Edge of Eternities. It is essentially, the mechanic is you pay a cheaper cost on some sort of permanent, because I know they have it on enchantments and creatures, at least. I don't know if it's on artifacts, but whatever. On a permanent, and you get it for only 1 turn, and then it goes to exile, and you can cast it for its regular cost from exile some other point.
Right.
So, like, for instance, Pinnacle Emissary is a 3-mana card, 3/3 creature. You can pay 1 mana to warp it, and then at the end of that turn, it gets exiled. So you never get to attack with it, but you get its other effect. So, Drew, you said you wanted to talk about this mechanic. Well, what brought it up for you?
So, what brought it up for me was Aspiring Spike did his review of what he thought.
His PowerPoint video.
Yeah, his PowerPoint as to what in this set is going to be playable or affect Modern. Most of the cards toward the front of his video, where that's where he puts the cards he feels will be most effective, have this ability.
Yes.
And it is the cards in this set that either have warp at 1 or 2 mana.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll use Pinnacle Emissary.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. It's probably going to be the one that is going to see the most play.
I think certainly right off the bat. So 1 mana, so on turn 1, you can warp this card into play. Can't attack.
Yep.
But you get the ability. So it's a Mull Drifter in that sense, right?
Yeah.
So then, because we have a plethora of 0-drop artifacts, you can... so the version that he has played on stream is Mox Opal, Memnite, Ornithopter, Bauble. So you have 16 0 drops. You play this, you play some number of 0-drop artifacts. This then creates 1/1 flying artifact tokens.
The fact that they're artifacts, I think, is the biggest part of it. So then, under certain circumstances, once you have played, like I think if there's an Opal in there and you get 3 of the 1/1s, you can then cast
Kappa Cannoneer.
Yeah, Kappa Cannoneer. I think he's also played a version that has Thought Monitor.
Sure. Yeah.
The 2/2 that draws 2 cards.
Yeah.
So
Thoughtcast and Thought Monitor were in the list that I saw. So like, if you can put 3 flying 1/1 artifact creature tokens and cast Kappa Cannoneer for almost anything, I think it comes in as a 5/5.
Yeah, because I think it's a 4/4, and then it enters and puts a counter on itself because it's whenever an artifact enters, and so it sees it sees itself as an artifact enter.
Right.
So yeah.
5/5 ward. You're never getting
ward 4.
You're never getting through it.
On turn 1.
On turn 1, you'll never get through it.
You'll never do that.
You have put 8 power on the battlefield. You have no cards. You're all in.
Yeah.
3 of that power has evasion.
Yep.
And 5 of that power has protection.
Yeah, and evasion, because when the +1/+1 counter triggers on the Kappa Cannoneer, it also gains can't be blocked this turn.
Oh my god.
So the next turn, if you have any artifact to play, it becomes a 6/6 or 5/5 or whatever size it is, big for turn 2, and can't be blocked.
So there's that. And now I think that will find a home in various artifact themed decks.
Yes.
Yet another reason why I think that Mox Opal should not be around. That's from Mike. So the other cards, there's a blue 4/6 mythic.
Quantum Riddler.
That's going to be warp 1 in a blue, and then something, and you gain, I think it ETBs, you draw a card.
Yeah, so ETBs, you draw a card, and as long as you have 1 or fewer cards in hand, if you would draw 1 or more cards, draw that many cards +1 instead. So if your hand's low, it becomes draw 2.
Sure. So you'll be able to play this, and then his big thing, and like I threw this into our Discord chat too, because I was like, is this going to be how this works? And you were like, yes, this is exactly how this works. Is there are numerous flicker effects in white. Ephemerate, the dog.
Yeah, Felia. Exuberant Shepherd.
So you're going to be able to, the way that he stated it is that Quantum Riddler?
Yeah, Quantum Riddler.
Is a better version of Overlord of the Balemark.
Because it draws without a restriction.
Yeah. And it has evasion.
Yep.
And it's in a better color currently in Modern. Blue as opposed to black.
So it's just when it enters, not when it attacks. But it's a 4/6 flyer, so that's pretty darn good.
So you're going to play this in a deck that has access to counter magic.
Yep.
You're going to have access. You're going to play this in a deck that's probably running Solitude.
Yeah.
There's also, I believe it's also a mythic. It's another creature. I believe it's a 5-drop 3 white that is another 1 in a white warp.
Okay.
Was a card that he highlighted. I don't know what it does, but like the thing that I think is going to make warp so good is that you are going to be able to, for 1 or 2 mana, to put, I think,
it's just scam
value. Yeah, it's
scamming it. Yeah.
It's value. That's one of the reasons I really don't like it.
Yeah,
but like, you're going to be able to put this on the battlefield and then play a bunch of other stuff cheaper and quicker. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be able to accrue things at a time and a place in the match when your opponent simply cannot deal with it.
Yeah, so like the line of play with like Felia, for instance, would be turn 2, end of your opponent's turn, you flash in Felia, you go to your turn, you warp your Quantum Riddler, attack with Felia, blink it, it comes back in. Draw. Yeah, so you drew 1. When it comes back in at the end of the turn, you draw 1, and your Felia gets a +1/+1 counter. Right. So now you've got a 4/6 that drew you 2 cards for 2 mana.
Yeah.
And a 3/3.
And like some of the points he made about the Quantum Riddler is that it blocks the Oculus. Yeah. It blocks a flying Guide of Souls. Yeah. And so like blocking is not something that takes place in Modern very often. Mm-hmm. Profitable blocking is something that takes place in Modern far less. Yeah. So now you have a cheap, evasive creature, and 4 power is the magic number that gets the game over pretty quick. Mm-hmm. And you are going to be able to effectively cheat it into play with at least 8 ways to do it. And, I mean, like, there's going to be a version of blue-white control, to some degree, that's going to run things like Solitude, Counterspell, and a flying threat that replaces itself in your hand, and that kind of stuff. And like, I should be stoked for it. But I think that like this mechanic already cannot see much in the way of future printings that does anything with it. And I think it's designed in a way that's like, when we come out with more cards, it's only going to make this stuff better.
Yeah. So like, this is the thing we learned with Scam. You know, so those of you who don't know what
we learned, Wizards did not.
Yeah, that like with Scam, which was like, oh, I can pitch cast Grief and then blink it.
We should do our most hated decks of all time, and I'll just have one fucking deck.
Yeah, it'll be a short podcast.
Yeah.
But so like, is that creatures that you can get a reduced cost for, and like they come up with ways to be like, oh, this is a downside. And the only creature cycle that I've seen where it actually is like the downside works are the Titans.
Yeah.
Because they say when it enters, unless it escaped, you have to second, so you can't blink it.
Yeah. So Croxa,
Uro, and
Flage. And one of those is banned in every format it can be played in.
Yeah.
One's the best creature in a current format it's being played in, and one is not played.
Yeah, and one's unplayable.
Yeah.
But it's the only like
spreading the love.
Yeah, it's the only way that they've done that kind of effect on creatures where they're like, oh, there is a cheap version and a max pay version, and like their intention is like with Quantum Riddler is I'm going to spend a turn 2 just to draw a card, maybe draw 2 if I'm low, and then later on I'll get to cast a thing. The intention for the card is not to be able to pay 2 mana and get the power toughness box.
Right.
They're supposed to be like what Muldrifter is you get a spell version of the creature, and for a greater cost you get to staple a creature onto it.
Gotta put that 2/2 on there.
But like the problem with all of these things is when you have effects like Ephemerate, you don't get to do that because the way the rules work is I just blink it and now it doesn't care that I cast it for a way, so they have to template them like they did with those Titans. Is that
if you didn't cast it, X happens.
If it wasn't cast, this is what happens. And so they need to change the templating because otherwise it's just so abusable, and it's going to lead at some point, if this becomes abusable enough, that like we have a card like Ephemerate on the Modern banned list, which is not a card that should be on the Modern banned list.
Right.
But the only reason we'd be able to ban Ephemerate, when the problem we had with Scam is why we had to ban Grief, is because they made like 7 different versions of that 1 mana.
Yeah. Hey,
blink
it's a
my
new
creature.
set.
Yeah.
Let's have a 1 black instant
Yeah.
that flickers a creature and has some other. It puts a thing on it or does that thing.
If it dies, it comes back. And it was just, each one was like, there were 2 that were literally carbon copies, just a different name. Like, well, why did you just reprint the same card?
Exactly.
Like, they didn't even have like a set specific name. But so, like, creatures are easily the most abusable card type with things you can do like this. So, like, we're only going to see this kind of stuff come up more and more. Warp, to me, is just the next ability in a line of ones we've been seeing for a long time that are just inherent, like, 2 cards in 1, and it's like Adventure. So I put up Brazen Borrower on the screen here because that, like, Brazen Borrower, either half of the card would not see play in probably any format if they weren't put together. But, like, go watch any Legacy stream.
Oh, man.
And Brazen Borrower shows up.
Chock full!
Like, Brazen Borrower is a staple in Legacy. Sure, you never play 4 of them, but, like, most, like, blue-red Delver lists, which don't play Delver anymore, by the way, but they still call them Delver because it's the strategy.
Right.
Have, like, 2 Brazen Borrowers in them. Because, like, hey, the ability to bounce a thing and then just have in my back pocket a 3/1 flyer that has flash, that's fine. But, like, Adventure was miles away the most powerful mechanic in that standard.
Every card.
Yeah,
it seemed like every card in that set was playable.
Yeah, because it's just every single Adventure creature is 2 cards in 1.
Right.
Because you don't have to make the decision between them. They made, I don't remember what it's called, but they made like a slight different version of the mechanic in Tarkir Dragonstorm, where instead of just having the creature half go to exile, it gets shuffled back into your deck.
Oh, it's awful.
And those cards are unplayable because they're 2
in your
cards.
deck.
It's I have to redraw the same card, and I only ever get one. It's just a modal card. And but like we've been seeing just consistent printings of mechanics like this that are just like you just get 2 cards for 1.
And this is so. Remember when I was like, Jund's was one of my favorite decks of all time because the decisions you made matter. These cards make it so your decisions don't matter because they give so much value.
Yeah.
All you have to be able to do is tap lands, and your thinking about it goes out the window.
Yeah, and like to the Jund point, like the whole thing we used to always say about Jund was like, sure, your deck may not have the same height power level, but your cards on average are better per card than anybody else.
Right.
Because there's every card along the way is a good card on its own. So you didn't have to find them in the right order. You didn't have to find Thoughtseize before you could play Tarmogoyf. You could play a Bolt. You could play nothing. You could play an Inquisition. You could play Tarmogoyf as your first play. You could play Tarmogoyf as your 17th play of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like, they're just always good, so they're interchangeable in different spots. It was a puzzle that has only straight edges.
Right.
And she was like, I don't care. I put them together however I want. Compared to other decks, are like, well, I have to piece this together. But then when you have something with an adventure on it, with a warp on it, you're like, I don't even have to make a choice. Warp isn't, I either cast it for the cheap version and it gets exiled, or I wait and cast it for the expensive version. It's, I can do both.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was watching, I don't remember who it was, but somebody was playing a Pinnacle Emissary deck on a stream. And it was like turn 1, they did the Pinnacle Emissary thing. Okay, Pinnacle Emissary, a couple 0-mana artifacts, have a turn. Then they went to their second turn, played another land, cast Pinnacle Emissary, and then played a few more artifacts, and then just have more dudes. And it's like, oh, okay, like I got to do both halves of the card, and like, why aren't the cards one or the other? Why do you get to cast the Pinnacle Emissary from exile after playing it? Other than somehow that creates a feel bad.
Right. No, and that's it.
Yeah.
That is it. Is that the feel bad experience has dictated how they are making the game. And the problem with the feel bad experience is that it's not inherently about the cards. It's about losing the game.
That's what it is. People don't care what they did if they lose, and so then they think it's bad.
And then they're going to blame something, the good thing that your deck did, that caused them to lose, because otherwise they'd win.
Yeah, because nobody ever makes a bad decision or plays cards that are worse or anything. There's always some other reason that people lost. And so it's a conundrum that I keep on seeing them doing. I'm like, why do they get both?
Right.
Okay, Warp, if it was, okay, I have this card in hand and I can get it for 1 turn to get the effect, or I get to cast the full version of the card later, is an interesting card to me. Now, very few of them, Pinnacle Emissary I think could still see modern play in that version of the card.
It's only going to see modern play.
Well, yeah, but like... So
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like Pinnacle Emissary, if Warp simply said it just the card gets exiled, doesn't have that you can cast it later.
Fuck yeah, you would see that card get played.
It would still see play in modern, where a Quantum Riddler would not.
No.
Right?
2-mana draw card. I mean, like, you're not... That's not a good enough rate almost anymore.
If your hand is at 1 or fewer, if instead of draw 2 it was draw 3, then it might still see play.
Ooh.
Because it might be a way to...
Because then it's Ancestral Vision.
Well, yeah, and it's a way to be like, oh, I'm going to play a strategy where I, like, put in a... My camera fell.
You have a bouncy table.
Yeah, it's because it's actually a standing desk.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, so it like, pushes down with...
Why didn't you ask me for a table for a wedding gift? I would have gotten a table.
Because I have this perfectly usable table.
Oh, my God.
So, like... So you might be able to, with a Quantum Riddler, in this, my hypothetical version of Warp, you might be able to play a strategy like, I'm going to dump my hand really fast. Or, like, I play a lot of, like, Force of Negation, Subtlety, pitch cards, so I run out of cards fast. Oh, I'm going to use this, even though I'm never going to have 5 mana, to refill my hand because it's the cheapest way to draw 3. And then I keep going, and then eventually I might actually get to 5 mana, and then I just play it, and sure, that's fine. But, like, it all of a sudden becomes a choice, and I think that's a more interesting card instead of just being like, well, the value train never stops because I get to have my cake and eat it too.
Right.
And so basically what I'm saying is we need to chop off more heads.
But yeah, this mechanic to me, They have something called the Storm Scale
Yeah.
that ranks how abusive certain mechanics are. Storm is at the top of that scale,
Yeah.
shockingly.
Yeah.
I think this mechanic can be near the top of that list.
Just like Delve.
Just like Delve.
Delve made everything cheaper, and we realized that cards in graveyard is a very low cost.
Yeah.
Because that's where they go naturally.
And I think this is the type of mechanic that only improves upon other stuff being printed that makes it valuable. So, like, if they ever make it again,
Yeah.
it's going to get better because we're going to get the next 1, 2, or 3 things that are playable in the format.
Yeah.
And then they're going to continue to print things that enter the battlefield and give you value, and then those things are going to play very well with that stuff.
And the more we get cards like Ephemerate, cheap ways to flicker stuff.
It can't get any cheaper.
Yeah, but like, what if you have 8 of them?
Oh,
Right?
I just threw up in my mouth.
Yeah, like, so, like, that's the thing I'm saying is we're going to get more of those kind of effects. And it's one thing if the strategy is built around Felia and Flicker Wisp to have to flicker it. It's like, okay, like we said, then the best you're...
2 and then 3, and they're both creatures.
Yeah, well, but, like, then, like, the best curve you're doing the Quantum Riddler on is my turn 2 at the end of my opponent's turn, I put in Felia. It's a 2/2. That is a very killable card.
Yeah.
And then I have to resolve the Quantum Riddler, go to attacks, and get this trigger to resolve, all on this thing, and that's turn 3. So it's like, that feels like something interesting that somebody would try to pull off, and when you pull it off, it's very powerful, but is very disruptible. But when we have something like Ephemerate in there as well, that card is so cheap, and you get the rebound on it, so you get to do it again, and like, Ephemerate Solitude is a way that this just gets abused, and it's just like, oh, if I have a Solitude, a random white card, and an Ephemerate, I get to kill 3 of my opponent's creatures and end up with a 3/2 lifelink at the end.
You think those two are not? You think those
For
two are going to
one
get
mana.
You think those two are going to get played together?
Yeah. Like, so it's just like, the more we get those types of effects, the more this becomes abusable. That was the problem with Scam. If there was only one of the black instant, if this creature dies this turn, it comes back, we could have just banned that one card and like, oh, you can't scam it anymore. Dang it. Like, okay, problem solved. Or now you have to go into another color because you have to try to play Ephemerate. But we're going to get another one of those effects, and it's going to be like, well, we can't ban 3 cards to stop this one problem. I guess we just have to ban every single one of these that comes along that we make that's too good. And it's just like, just design cards. And this has been my gripe about the card design that we see, at least in the things that come out that are designed, I think, poorly. For a long time, this has been my gripe. It's just like, just design it minorly different, and you fix the problem. If Uro is green, blue,
Right.
it's a lot less playable.
But you've already said the reason why they won't do it.
Yes, I know. And as long as people buy cards and play the game and interact with
They don't
it,
give a shit.
then they don't have any reason to change other than people screaming about it on Twitter.
Sure.
And
I refuse to call it X as well.
it
So stupid.
The platform doesn't exist in my mind, but I'm
Sure.
also not going to jump to all the thing that people are going to like, oh, my blue sky, and I'm like, stop. Just live without that sort of platform if you want. That's fine.
You're hacking on Threads?
No. But so anyway, yeah, I think there are solutions and ways to solve some of the design things we see, and it's just little tweaks that then are like, oh yeah, instead of just it only happens, like there's an effect attached to this thing, but we know we can just make the creature a different thing, make it so that unless a condition was met, this always happens.
Right.
So you just have to shift the way you're thinking instead of default, and we're changing the default, and like, because the game runs a creature as a default way, and we're just, this now, if you cast it this way, we change the default for a creature, but you can always have a different way to reset it to the default. You need to make the default for the card when this enters, unless it was cast, or whatever way you want to word it, unless 5 mana was spent to cast it or whatever. Do the thing.
And that wording has demonstrated that those cards will still be played.
Yeah. Because then you can also make the card actually a little bit better, as we see with something like Flage, because it's like the backside of that is really good.
Yeah.
And so it's
and it's still white, red to get out of the yard.
So you can jump through the hoops. I would argue that Flayed should still be probably red, white on the front side. But, you know, I'm always a proponent of, I think cards should probably have a higher
difficulty to cast.
Yeah, like color cast. Like Brazen Bar was 1 blue. It's only 1 blue because there's a bunch of creatures that came before it that were 1 blue.
Click.
You know, yeah, and not because they actually look at this as like, ooh, this one's too powerful if it's only 2 and a blue. Like, ooh, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, you looked at some of these other cards and said, no, that's fine. Like, come on. So, anyway, yep, those are thoughts. We'll see what happens with Warp. Right now, I see all of less than a handful of Warp cards being played, but we're definitely going to see things like Pinnacle Emissary and Quantum Riddler doing stuff.
Oh, hell yeah.
If only for the fact that for the next month, Spike is going to be play Quantum Riddler's decks.
He sure is.
That's all he's going to do for a while.
He has such an unbelievable effect on what is played in Modern.
Yeah. And he gets so hyper-focused on, like, an idea, and he's like, this is what I'm doing. And for the past 3 months, ever since, or however long it's been since Breach is banned, he plays a lot of really cool decks, but they all have Mox Opal and Mox Amber in them, and I'm not buying those cards. So please stop making me want to do these other cool things, because I like the rest of the 52 cards in the deck and what it's doing, but I'm not spending $1,000 on those 8 cards.
Do you? I mean, but like that's where we are now. Is that like the format is so? And I'm going to say this, and I'm not going to talk anymore. But like the format is so based upon like do this thing. The value that you get is that you have cast the second whatever or this type of this thing, gain this incremental value, and like now that you have unbanned Opal and you have a cousin in Amber and you have a card that used to be $45 in Bauble.
Yeah, God, it did.
You know?
Yeah.
Like you have this. I mean, you don't need it. I mean, like you don't even have to play all the Ambers.
No,
because you can just
7.
Yeah, because you can just supplement that up above to like a really consistent number, because now you're playing 11 of this effect.
Yeah, and you've got Emery, which replays them,
yeah.
And so you can freely cast the second one to sack the first one to legendary rule to bring it back to Emery and make extra mana on a turn. And
Spike is, I don't understand why more people, I mean, like, haven't copied what he's doing, because ultimately what he is doing is that he has mapped out shells.
Yeah.
And then is testing cards that are either cheaper or do an additional effect to something that currently exists in one of the shells.
Yeah.
And then he just plays them and posts them on Moxfield and whatever. And it's like, this is not... If I studied Spike and watched his stream and went to his Moxfield every day, if I did that for a month, I could discern what the shells are.
Yeah. Yeah, he very clearly has a few different, like, okay, and you can just swap out these cards, and often what those other cards are around this thing don't matter.
Right.
It's just which way do you want to use the thing that this does. Which is cool that he's so good at that. Like, you really liked the Shifting Woodland Brews that he was playing, right?
Delirium is a mechanic that is my definition of this is how mechanics should be designed.
But, like... So, like, you could say there was a core of that deck, and you could shift out this piece and that piece, and I'm going to play this version of it, and now this time I'm copying something else. But it's these same cards that enable the shell, and it's just how you want the payoff to work.
Right.
And so you could do that, but I think the thing that he does that's special is he must have some sort of crazy memory, just because he's like, he can dig back and be like, now this card makes this thing way better, and maybe he's just willing to throw out more ideas because nobody else was even trying to do anything with something like Fanatic of Ronus.
Oh my god.
And he's like, this card can do nuts stuff.
And he is still saying things like, this card's great. No, it is not.
Yeah.
Like, you just like it. Like, that's the definition. But his fan base and reach is so extreme that he is the most influential person after the cards have been designed in the entirety of Magic the Gathering. It's not close.
Yeah, and sometimes they ask him to help design cards, so he's just the most influential modern personality ever. Yes. So anyways, we've been going for a while. Yeah, over 2 hours. Long episode.
I'm gonna call it, because I have not eaten since noon, and I need to eat. And
but do you?
Well, I mean, I don't need to. I am hungry, I should say.
No, I was just poking and prodding you. You should probably eat.
I've been doing gyms with the camera for the entire time we've been doing
it's
this.
okay. I just knocked my camera off the table, off the TV, so it's staring at me.
You took it further.
Yeah.
So, well, that's our show, man.
Yeah. All right, folks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Let us know how we did. Also, one last note: our consistent listeners, you're mean because the last two things we put out, the volume was turned way down, and you could still hear it if you turned your volume up. But nobody told me. Just say, "Hey, bro, volume's low on this one. Fix it." Because I had to go to my computer settings and somehow I just accidentally turned down the input volume low. But just tell me, like, hey, bro, it's kind of quiet this time. We're amateurs. We get it. It won't hurt my feelings. Good night.